Let's do the damn thing.
Oh, you know what
what time it is. It's time to take it to the Birdland. It's about to go down. Hope y'all ready. Yeah, let's go. Come and roll with me to the Birdland. Friends got to giving you the word, man. Any other BS is absurd, man. Sports talking, they give it to you firsthand. They can talk Terps, they can talk O's. Yeah, they both lit. That's how it goes. Baltimore squad, Ravens and Bo. Better tune in. Here gonna show. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS.
What's up, BSers?
It's all about that BS, baby.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
You're not Fred.
Full house, though.
Fred found him the wrong seat
Full
tonight.
house. This is a crazy night
Hearts.
at first, almost, I think.
I am here. Calm your little hearts. Just taking a break over here on the couch, chilling with the big guy. Yeah.
You didn't get enough big guy time over the weekend.
Let me tell you.
No, they bonded that much more.
Let me tell you. I had more room on my first class seat than I have on this couch right now.
That's true. I saw a text message. Fred was going to be on the couch today. I said, "Well, then, damn, I'll come cuddle."
Yeah, we got a good packed house. Again, always fun when everybody's here. It just means it's going to be a long show because there's a lot of opinions to go around. But before we kind of do that, let's break down what the show is going to be about. Get it started, Drew.
Yeah, man. I mean, the Grade 8 does it again. Has another solid, great game, and they ran behind them for another win in Foxborough. Well, their first win in Foxborough
In the regular season.
in the regular season.
Yeah.
Without Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good old Joe Flacco.
Look, now the team has to prepare for the unbeaten Bills. Oh, wait. The Bills lost to the Dolphins, too. Well, I know what film the Ravens need to watch this week. We're going to talk about that.
Sorry, Chuck. Hey, the Orioles still hanging around. They had a solid weekend, even though the second two dropped. Was a little hard to swallow, but look, they're still around. So we'll see if they can build upon that success, take it to the playoffs, and if not, I mean, look, it's looking good towards going in the offseason.
Yeah, and the Terps may not have won against Michigan, and you guys may not have brought us back a win like we asked, but
Okay.
It was a pretty hard-fought game and a pretty good showing, I will say, as they took the ride back home, and they're going to face Michigan State, so we're going to talk about that as well. But before we do, let's go ahead and give a shout-out to our sponsor.
Man,
You know who it is.
Lawyer time, baby. Let's go. Talk about our team at Bowers, Hassan, and Herndon.
Heyo.
So we've been talking about them nonstop, every single show, all the time. But they've expanded to more lawyers handling a broader spectrum of cases now. All your auto accidents, injuries at work, now they can help you with a divorce, all your misdemeanors and the like. See how bad how far they'll take it, to even criminal cases with traffic tickets and murder. So call that number now.
And murder.
667-220-6500. Anytime for any of your needs. Save the number, call or text them. Update that MD Crash number, 667-220-6500. Call anytime. Get the team at Bowers, Hassan, and Herndon. Well, the job for you. Try to find some way to spice it up sometimes.
That was the most blasé way of saying murder I've ever heard.
Murder was the case that they
I feel
gave
like
me.
things like murder nowadays are becoming that way. Like this
What, blase?
just seems like it's in the news.
Murder's
It's
fun.
in the
You know what
news
this
all the
reminds me of?
time.
That street sign as we were leaving Michigan, where it was like, if you injure or kill a street worker, it was like $7,500
fine and 15
years in jail. I'm like, wow, if you didn't like one of those guys, you just saved yourself 10 years off of a murder sentence and a bunch of money. Like,
They really devalue their employees there.
Oh, man. All right, well, we'll get to the Terps and your trip to Michigan. I know everybody's going to be excited to hear that, and I know that you guys will have some plugs for the Shell and Tell
that
segment.
loss was good enough to put a new shirt on Drew, and I got like an old man ironic T-shirt over here, apparently.
Apparently. Yeah, you guys switched places. I don't know what happened.
Switcheroo.
Look, the Ravens are 2-1 on the season now as they get the win over the Patriots, as we said, 37-26. Kind of wanted to start with the inactives. This is kind of our regular thing every week. Any surprises to you? So the inactives for the Patriots games was James Prochet, Kenyon Drake, Darryl Worley, Ronnie Stanley, Brent Urban. Any surprises to anyone off this list?
At this point, Stanley's not surprised anymore. So no one really surprised me with this one.
You'll be surprised when he comes off.
That'll be the shock because it remains to be seen if that'll ever happen.
I don't know why they didn't put him on the pup.
It feels like you're wasting.
Hey, no, James, that's a good point. You think they should have put him on the pup then?
Yeah, like if you're gonna not have him back after the third or fourth game, you might as well just let him sit the 6 games and then be back because.
He could even have came back.
Yeah, but they don't know that.
I was gonna say
This was more of a let's let Ronnie kind of feel his way through this. I think the team rushed him back too fast last year, and now it's more so like you tell us, big boy, when you're ready, when you're 100%. And even Jonathan Ogden, shout out to Baltimore Beatdown podcast because they had Jonathan Ogden on their show the other day, yesterday actually, and they interviewed Jonathan and they talked about his relationship with Ronnie, and he said that he told Ronnie like, listen, man. It's not worth rushing it back. It's not worth coming back a week, 2 weeks, whatever it is, too early.
One slip, you can kill your career.
Take your time with it, right? So I think that's part of it. So that's why I don't think he went on pup. To me, I think the name on this list that kind of surprises me is the guy that we thought might be in the battle for wide receiver 2. And
Yep,
it's
that's where I was
James
going to go with it.
Prochet.
Yep.
What the hell is going on with James Prochet?
Well, that's who everybody else was talking about. So we got back to it. This is why Fred's on the couch this week.
Yeah, right. He reels it back in. No, that was the surprise to me was James Prochet, like him not being out there. Now, it didn't stop this wide receiver core, and we're going to get into that. But overall, I've been surprised about him being on the inactives, given that we thought he was going to be playing a pretty decent role, given that he was going to be the returner. And I think to that extent, it actually may have been a little bit of a blessing in disguise because I get the vibe, the way that Harbs was talking about Duvernay and the breakout game that Duvernay had. I get this vibe.
Sorry. I don't know. I just knocked something
You
over.
put him on the couch and he doesn't know he doesn't know his space.
I got excited for this convo.
I don't know what's with my
I
hand.
think that was your phone.
Was it?
I think it was your phone.
But anyway, you can look for it. You're not on camera. The James Prochet thing really surprised me, Drew, because I think for me, he's the guy that it was a blessing in disguise in a sense because Harbs was talking about Duvernay, talking about this breakout game that he had. And I almost get the vibe that if Prochet was around, maybe Duvernay wouldn't be getting as many reps on punt return and kick return. I think that would fall to Prochet because if he goes down, now you're down one solid wide receiver at this point. He's shown himself to be. Do you think there's value in that? Do you think it's actually helped that he hasn't been there and given Duvernay both roles, or do you think it's something
I wouldn't
else?
say it's helping in that aspect, but at least it is giving Duvernay a chance to shine. I mean, it'd be a different story maybe if Duvernay wasn't doing what he's doing so far. I mean, no, it's not some like stellar number 1 type receiver stuff, but he's caught a few touchdowns. He's looked good doing it.
Looked damn good this week.
He's doing the return duties, and sometimes with the return duties, maybe you're too focused on the return duties and you're not doing your other. You know what I mean? Like one job suffers the other, or you have too much on your plate. It seems like he's welcoming both roles. And, I mean, for the most part, flourishing so far.
He is itching on the couch. He does not like being not on
No,
camera.
it's
He is itching.
I just got some things to say about this because Devin Duvernay,
He's got some opinions.
what he's doing is he's maximizing the opportunities that he's getting.
100%.
Because you got to remember, like Lamar's probably averaging somewhere around like 25 to 28 passes per game right now. So there's not a whole lot of targets to go around. The majority of those targets right now are going to Mark Andrews, rightfully slow, and then Rashad Bateman, second in line. That's the way things should be. Devin Duvernay, the few opportunities that he's getting, he's maximizing.
Yeah.
He's become a true number 2 complementary receiver. So I'm happy with it. You're seeing him become more roundabout, a more better football player overall, and not just a special.
So to
teams
throw
guy.
the question to you then, do you think, like, for example, the return that we saw Duvernay have, right? Do you think that's happening if Prochet is healthy and on the field?
I do, because I think Devin Duvernay is a self-motivated guy. He's going to do it regardless of who's on the field, who's the competition, and whatnot.
Okay.
I think it's more a credit to Lamar showing trust in Duvernay than it is just Duvernay. You know what I mean? 'Cause we've seen Lamar likes to go away from guys that he doesn't trust, that he doesn't feel comfortable with, and each week he gets a little bit more confident and a little bit more comfortable throwing to him.
And every touchdown that Duvernay's made has not been some wide open,
it's been
broken
contested
touchdown.
catches.
It's literally like the one in the Jets game was like the most contested on the season so far, where we're at least like it was like 0.1% chance of being a catch. Like it's the lowest so far this year.
Well, there were 3 names that we were all happy to see active this week, even though we'll talk about some of the things, that come out of it. But J.K. Dobbins
Thank God he's
activated,
back. Yeah,
played.
Happy to have him back. Happy that everything looked good. I mean, there was no huge game out of him, but he was sharing duties with Justice Hill.
Don't rush him back.
You know what I mean?
And plus, you go with the hot hand.
We'll
get to that.
anyway. But just good to see number 27 out there running around.
Yeah, we've been hyping for him. He's been hyping for it. So Travis Jones, this one's a big one, Fred. I know you have talked about. He gets out there, and not only does he see 29 snaps, but that was 44%. Coming back off the injury, I thought maybe they'd take it a little easier on him. Maybe he'd be in that 20-25% range. But obviously with some of the injuries, he was kind of thrust in there. I felt like he did a serviceable job. What did you think?
I think he did a lot more than just serviceable. Did he get any sacks? Did he get home? No. But here's the thing. He is light years ahead of any rookie that I've seen on a defensive line in a very long time. And I mean that in the total package. Like, the guy has next level strength. I watched some film breakdown. Again, shout out to Baltimore Beatdown. I think it was Spencer that did some film breakdown on him. You know, all of these offensive linemen are 300-plus pounds and probably the strongest guys you would ever meet in your life, right? Well, this Travis Jones is tossing these guys to the side without any effort, like they're nothing, right? So this guy's strength, again, is on another level. He's going to continue to get better week in and week out, and we might see some of that pass rush that we've been lacking come from the interior, and he's going to be a big part of that.
Like we said, anybody that can make UConn's defense look okay is doing something special.
That's true.
Yeah, I think that does play a factor in what's going on, and I think he's a guy that long term, I'm really excited to see what growth he brings to the table next year. Yeah. Really, even throughout the rest of this year, because the ceiling is so high.
What's going to happen is there's going to be enough tape on him that that offensive lines are going to have to double and count for him, which is only going to free up some of these other guys. Like, there were plenty of plays where they had Calais Campbell lined up in the 6 technique outside against a tight end. There's not a fucking tight end in the league that can block Calais Campbell. Get out of here, right? So once like I said, once offenses figure out that they've got a game plan for Travis Jones, all that's going to do is make the complementary players around him better.
Yeah, and on the flip side of the ball, coming back to the offense for a second, happy to see it, but a little surprised with the result. Yeah, I did. Thank you.
Folks, it is going to be a crazy show.
It is. Yeah. Things are all out of whack.
We just need to get a third one and put it over there.
Let's do this. Let's just settle in.
I'm sorry, Drew. I'll let you have
It's all good. I feel great. Let's go.
But no,
it's still early.
The
last one segment, I've barely been on the camera, then we might have an issue.
The last one
shut him up for the Orioles
that we got to go through is the Nick Boyle activation. Happy to see it because it was okay. Here comes the run game. JK and Boyle are coming out. Well, Boyle sees 4 snaps.
It's still so confusing. I don't understand really, because all intents and purposes, he's not injured. Like, he was a healthy scratch the last couple of weeks, and you've heard as much. And then it's like you've seen that the run game and run blocking just isn't really up to snuff that we're used to over the last several years. And you think, all right, Boyle's in now. Like, you got JK back, even if it is a limited time. Like, you got your full complement of extra hands on deck, and it's like 4 snaps. Why?
It made no sense to me because I'm sitting here going,
because Oliver was still getting his. He had a touchdown. Like, he was still out there getting his snaps.
I'm kind of saying, like, what the hell was the point in activating him? But I thought about it a little more. I'm like, okay, maybe they're trying to ease him back in. But I still feel like you could have eased him back in through practice.
15 snaps would have been easy.
I would have probably liked to see 15 snaps or something like that. At least a quarter to half of the runs, but 4 snaps, it just didn't do much to me. Yeah, to me, it didn't make any sense.
4 snaps isn't worth activating him for. No.
Yeah.
Right. So, all right. So let's get into some of the topics from the actual game that I wanted to kind of go over, get everybody's take on. First one, injury bug.
The I word. It just, and that's the funny thing was, like, it just feels snake bitten at some point, because I know, like, fans love to latch on to the training regimens or how they're doing on the training staff type of thing. Like a thing like McCarr, training staff be damned if you're getting your running backs getting pushed into your ankle, or you're spraining your ankle getting rolled up on. Like, has nothing to do with the training staff. It just seems like, for whatever it is, like, we just can't escape seeing a guy down, like, oh, they're going to commercial and there's a purple in the field that hasn't gotten up yet. It's just so tiresome to see, because that's what we latch on to. That was kind of our excuses we would use last year, and it's like we don't really want to use that excuse anymore. Like we want our guys.
I don't want to be saying what if again this year.
Yeah, it's perfect way of saying
and
it.
luckily, this one wound up being, they're saying it's just an ankle sprain at this point.
Low
ankle sprain, so it's not a high ankle sprain. It's not anything we got to worry heavy about.
Yeah.
So it should not be a long-term situation, maybe a week or two. They're not even putting dates on it yet.
Yeah.
But it was frustrating to see that happen because you know that Macari coming in for what's his face last week?
Coming in for I know I was about to say for James.
James.
And
So-
not having Stanley still, like we already talked about. Like it's just
I don't think you're going to see Stanley this year.
it would.
If they're telling him to take his time and come back whenever, he's going to just milk it and take another year off and then come back next year.
If that were the case, he wouldn't be out there practicing, and we've seen him heavy practicing. We've seen him looking good in practice.
All right, well,
I think
get
it's
your
just
ass out there then.
it's games.
like week
no
10.
game as we
kinda
said
ready
with
for the
everything
playoff
else.
one, though, a little bit.
As we said with everything else, game speed is different. And
Bye
you're
week
coming
is
back
week
from
10.
Yeah.
I think around the bye week is where you'll see him.
Okay.
After the bye week.
So all right, so we have Macari go down. You also have three guys on defense. Three of your quote heavy hitters on that defensive line go down in this game.
Especially Justin Houston.
Justin
He's
Houston
the
goes
one that's
out-
getting the main sack.
Right, he's going out with a groin injury.
You ever pulled your groin? Yeah, it just
Okay.
sucks.
Yeah, it
There's
sucks.
a website for groinwatch.com. It's there.
Yeah, don't Google that. You never know what'll come up.
And then when you're old, it happens even.
Don't use your Facebook to
See,
Google.
yeah.
Yeah,
worse.
definitely don't do it on Facebook.
Anyway, Justin Houston goes out with a groin injury. Michael Pierce out with the arm injury. Still haven't heard details on what that was. He was supposed to get an MRI yesterday. Don't know if they've figured out what it is, if it's going to be long-term, short-term, whatever. Calais Campbell did go down at one point as well. Something with the ankle or knee. He came back in. He was fine. It was okay. Played fairly well the rest of the game. But you could tell that line was hurting without Pierce and without Houston. So we will see what happens with these injuries. But this injury bug, it's got to stop. It really does.
It does. And I
You
mean,
can't put a thumb on it. That's the worst part. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not.
You can't nail it down to one thing.
Like, it isn't necessarily soft tissue injuries where you can get how you're training.
not the
and
Terps.
everything.
Everyone
no,
loses
but
an
that's the
ACL.
whole NFL. There's a lot of injuries.
It really, you're
There's
right,
a lot.
yeah.
A lot of offensive linemen are going down. Sterling Shepard with
These
with the
fields suck.
ACL without no one touching him. Like,
Yeah. To that point, though, I mean, you had Daniel Falele come in for his first action as a left tackle because he's never played left tackle, right? Took him a few snaps. I think the first snap or two, he let up a sack.
Yeah.
After that, though, his footwork got comfortable. He kind of sunk into the role and looked pretty good, to be honest with you.
He was
tell
a
you
left
what-
tackle at Minnesota, right?
I think he was right.
No, he was a right
I was gonna
tackle.
say, he was right.
tackle.
Yeah,
77 reporting. Yeah,
That's a
But
big-ass
honestly,
right
listen,
tackle.
again, going up against a defensive line that includes somebody like Matt Judon, who we know is a perennial Pro Bowl type player,
Yeah.
I think he did very well considering. You hate to see the injury to Pat
Look.
Macari, and I hope it's just very short term and he can come back and get into the rotation. But again, this was a rookie that was thrust into a role and held up.
He did a good enough job to get credit from Lamar in Lamar's post game, saying, "Hey, Falele, he stepped up. He struggled at first, but he stepped up. He figured it out."
Yep.
I think that just goes to show, and watch for him to be a Macari type player, right? He's going to be versatile across that line. They're going to get him comfortable even more. He's going to protect. If Macari's out next week, he'll protect him on the left side.
Of Macari, though.
Yeah. So I hope I think they're just hoping he's going to become a wall. But ultimately, overall, this offensive line started out slow. It wasn't just Falele after Macari went down. The overall line started slow. They struggled at times early, but they started to kind of gel later. Linderbaum getting better. I saw improvement. The snaps looked better.
Linderbaum looks great. Linderbaum,
Getting off the ball is quick, too.
I think he looks great. If you listen to any of the PFF stuff out there, he grades out as one of the best centers in the game so far through 3 weeks. I know he struggled the first week a little bit early on in the game, but beyond that, he's done good. Offensive line is getting better. Morgan Moses, I think, has been really good in pass pro. He struggled a little bit in the run game, but he looked better in this game. But a better back will also do that to you, too. The offensive line, considering all the challenges that they have right now, are playing pretty good, and they're only going to get better as guys get healthy. Like I said, if Ronnie Stanley comes back around the bye week, There's your your all-pro left tackle. You got Falele, who can either substitute at either tackle position now. If Macari's low ankle sprain only keeps him out a week or two, this offensive line is going to get better as time goes. We're already seeing that through 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think we saw a lot of things happen in this game. To your point, Linderbaum, with all the snaps that he played, there were 103 pass blocking plays, to your point, right?
Yeah.
And he had 0 sacks and only 3 pressures. That's exactly what you're referencing. Yeah. It's that continued growth. And then on top of that, to me, I was also watching the snaps a little closer, right? We saw last week, we saw a little bit of high snaps. We saw the fumble from Lamar that was everybody tried blaming on Linderbaum.
It was Lamar.
It was Lamar. Lamar admitted that later on. But overall, I think I saw improvement. The one thing that got me about the offensive line, which also led to the run game, because this was one question right after the other when it came to Harbs and his press conference, was the fact that he was, quote, happy with the run game. I think I put happy in quotes because here's the deal. 26 carries for 188 yards. That line sounds great.
Except that Lamar was 107 of those.
On 11 carries. Saw design runs by Lamar, which I was calling for last week. So there were several design runs that he had the option to pull. He pulled it, found the hole. It was that piece that I was talking about. Getting that back to that next level of he's throwing it deep. He can get it across. He can get it to the middle to Andrews. We saw the tight ends work well. We saw Duvernay work well. A lot across the middle in this game. Yeah. A lot. And it worked. But that run game, Justice Hill, yet again, showing proving us wrong, because we were all calling and saying we're done with the Justice Hill experiment at running back. And here he is showing up and showing out over JK.
Probably,
all he needed was for me to believe it.
Ryan said it last week. He was the running back showing the most burst. He hated to say it.
It's the only thing we had left.
But he showed the most burst. Just give him at least the majority at share at that point, and that's what happened. That's what happened. 6 for 60 yards.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's why I say I think the running
you can't
game,
deny that,
based on opportunities, did really good. You're talking about a back who averaged 10 yards per carry on the limited opportunities that he got. So I think, I know you look at that and you're like, 107 yards was Lamar and only 81 of it is everybody else. Well, that's because they only had, 15 carries total for all the other running backs not named Lamar? You know what I mean? So the limited opportunities that they got, I think they did pretty well with.
And that's what I was thinking earlier when Scott was or Drew was saying that here comes the running game with Nick Boyle coming back. I don't think the running game's coming back. I think that's a thing of the past. I mean, Pat Ricard has more catches than he has pancakes this year. They're not even really using.
This game, he was an absolute force as a blocker.
He was helping Falele. He was getting out in front of Falele at times.
But goddamn, was he showing his worth even more.
100%. Him and Judon were going back and forth. They had a little thing going. It was pretty funny to watch, but he put Judon on his ass, and it was hilarious.
No, and that was the thing. To that point, you talk about the way this offensive line, when they started gel, was when Ricard kind of stepped up and was helping Falele a lot more. And almost at times, if you go back and you watch the video, I was watching it, he would get out in front of Falele, blocking whoever's there, and Falele was picking up the scraps.
Right.
If that's what works, fine. I'm fine with it. But a lot of different layers to this. I get what you're saying. The 10 yards a carry, average overall for everybody that wasn't named Lamar, was 5.5 yards a carry, 5.3.
That's fucking great.
That's good.
It's been
2 carries and first down.
Way moving the chains.
It's good. I'll give it.
2 games.
I'll give it. I know that obviously Justice had the breakout one that I think was 29 in this game or something along those lines.
It was something like that. It was like a 20-yard.
So, but overall, I think it's one of those things. I wouldn't say I was pleased, but I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
With the run game.
I think.
Does that make sense to everybody? Were you pleased? Would you be happy with what that was?
What we're seeing a flip in roles of what 2019 was.
Even Lamar said it himself,
and that's the way it should be.
Lamar said it himself about this ain't no run team no more. We passing the ball on run
that's
drives,
the way it should be.
run plays.
He's proven that he's much better as a pocket passer. He's proven that he can make all the throws that everybody questioned in 2019 that he couldn't make. He's doing that now. So for this offense to evolve, right, the NFL has 2 years of tape on what this offense has looked like as a run-first offense. They don't have 2 years of tape on what this offense looks like as a pass-first offense, right? So you have to evolve, and so far through 3 weeks, Lamar is the best fucking player in the NFL
all
right
the
now.
critics that want to sit there and say, make him pass, well, guess what? we're making him pass. Y'all are making it pass. He's passing and he's flourishing and he's showing that that BS criticism is BS.
And it's a lot easier to snap your fingers and run the ball 50 times than it is to snap your fingers and throw the ball 50 times. So,
neither one of
anytime
those are effective.
Yeah.
You have to be balanced, and that's what Lamar's been talking about, is being a more balanced offense.
Yeah.
And they
James, go ahead.
I'm sorry. We should start out the show with the defense because I don't think there's anything to talk about that much on the offense at all. Like, yeah, our running game's not here.
Can we mute his mic for the rest of the show?
But what I'm saying is, when you let up 157 yards to Parker, I think you need to start the show off with defense.
Oh yeah. Listen,
the offense.
It's all about building It's all about building the audience.
You always start with a positive, then you get to the negative,
I like
positive
the
again.
I like the negative. Get it out of the way because
Not with Mr. Negative.
yeah, Mr. Negative. When you pay all that money on defense and nothing on the offense, it's time to talk about this fucking defense,
I
dude.
agree with that.
Put the money on the offense. Spend the money. If you think Lamar's your guy, cut the check and get it done. And get this fucking thing going.
I've never agreed with James more, but I think it's just because he's in a Scripps uniform.
He looks the part.
He's just in all Maryland stuff today, so Ryan's like, I bond with him.
I'm kind of feeling
All right,
this.
before we flip to the defensive side,
Spoiler
James
alert,
jumping the
BSers.
gun. Jesus Christ, James.
Because it pisses me off because
We'll
it's
get
just
there,
that
and
bad,
you can
dude.
get pissed off again in like 10
We'll
minutes.
get there. I'll get you pissed off. I'll get you
Because
worked up.
we
Give me a
got to
minute.
talk about the.
I thought it was an expert transition.
We're going to go back and talk about.
It was just wrong time.
We're going to go back and talk about the passing game.
Yes,
So,
yes, we have to.
So the question becomes, and I'll say it like this: how are you happy with the receiving core as a whole this year, giving all the questions going into? Like we were sitting there talking about, we were expecting Prochet to be the number 2, and it's Bateman doing well, Duvernay doing well. It isn't just Andrews. Andrews is now having a couple good games, but so are you happy with the way the wide receiver core is going now?
100%.
Because you said, we was like Bateman, and then who else?
Here's it. Right. Well, we said as far as receptions, we were saying it was Andrews, and then we assumed Bateman, and then it's a fight, right? We now have a solid number 1, solid number 2, what appears to be a solid number 3 receiver overall, right? So Andrews, Bateman, Duvernay. I think you've proven Oliver came in clutch. Not that he's like the end all be all, but he's able to get out there.
And a touchdown.
You've had Ricard play a little bit of the role, get some receptions. You had Marcus Robinson get a reception or 2. The ball is being spread around on this offense. 18 receptions in this game on 27 targets to 8 different guys. 8 different guys. That's a good start to being able to say in week 3, we've got a pretty damn good passing offense.
And this is one of the things that I know, not just us, I think a lot of fans were critical of Lamar early on in his career, was him just honing in too much on his boys, right? It was Andrews and it was Hollywood, and that's all we saw. These types of games where you see him spreading the ball around, where he's got 8 guys involved in catching the football, like that's what you want to see. You want to see him going through his progressions, not getting just comfortable with 2 guys, spreading the football around. It's good. The only thing I'll say is that I thought by week 3 we'd see a little bit more involvement with Isaiah Likely and the 2 tight end formation. That hasn't been as impactful yet. I'm not saying it won't be, because I think that's still something in Greg Roman's vault. Exactly. So that should get better, but we'll see what happens with that.
All right. I think overall, the other thing, obviously, again, we talked about Bateman. He did have the fumble. I want to talk about this one for a second. Harbs was asked about it post-game, said they were going to go talk to the NFL because they really looked at it. They didn't think he had the control of the ball for the reception to then call it a fumble. So unbiased opinion from everybody in the room, was it a fumble? Was it a catch and fumble, or was it an incomplete?
I don't think it was I thought it was a fumble, but I could kind of see them not overturning it and being a little conclusive at the same time. But to me, like it wasn't it wasn't a football move. Like even the way I do like, I've always liked this about broadcasts. I've always liked the former referee in the booth that they go to as this is what, because
it appears to be wrong half the time.
They're not really they haven't had any kind of biased take. Like they're not an extra color commentator. They're literally like, this is the letter of the law. Yeah, he needs to keep it. Now in this situation, whoever the guy was, literally was saying like, yeah, you have the possession for a second, but you don't, or you have the feet down, but you don't have the possession. You're not making a football move, and it's on the ground before you can say
one way or the other.
One way or the other. So, like, for me, it was a fumble, but it wasn't enough one of those egregious things for me to carry on. Like, well, that's why we're going to lose this game because that's a lost possession right there.
James, what did you think?
I think it could go in either way. Like William said in the chat, like the way you look at it, he looked like he caught it in that turn, but I think when he turned, it looked like it was loose anyways.
Yep.
But there was not really good evidence to see it, and then they called it a fumble on the field, so they weren't going to change it. But it could have been a coin toss. You could have tossed a quarter in the air and called heads or tails and went both ways. It could have went either way, but it was just a weird call to make, and they called it a fumble, so it's going to stay that.
Fred, Ryan?
I agree. It has to be conclusive evidence for them to overturn the call on the field. The call was that it was a fumble, so it could have gone both ways. You know, if they don't make the call and they got to figure it out, I lean more towards it was a catch and it wasn't a catch and fumble because again, I don't think he had total control of the ball. But that's just my take on it. But again, I just don't think there was enough evidence for them to overturn.
Ryan?
See how smart he is in scripts?
That was the easiest answer Ryan's
That's
ever
his
had.
answer for everything the rest of the show from James.
Two parts for this for me real quick are the fact that I agree. I personally don't think he had control. I don't think the ball, if you watch it, I know it's slow-mo, but the ball never stopped moving. That was my issue.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that happens when you're in that scrum where you're getting tackled by two guys at once. Like,
so
it's almost like his helmet hits it back in and give you possession.
Here's my bigger issue. Do you know how long it took to review that play?
It was like real quick they moved.
It was like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And Harbs was what Harbs was like, how did you make that call that quick? That's one of the things that they wanted the explanation of how they made the call that quick.
At least the Ravens got 10 seconds. Terps.
Yeah, Terps get fucking shit reviewed.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that later.
Just spoiler upon
But no,
spoiler.
it was a quick call, and being that it's a turnover, and all turnovers are to be reviewed. I was so surprised about how quick that was that you weren't zooming in. Because when they did come back from break, zooming on the ball's moving the whole time. I'm going, how would this not have been overturned right away as soon as somebody actually starts looking at this? And it was almost like
at Applebee's.
yeah, right. Eating good in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyway, finally, the last thing to talk about in the receiving core is the tight end group, the role that they played. How happy were all of you to see Mark Andrews kind of like it's game 3? The first 2 games were like,
well, no, he had 100 yards in the second game.
Yeah.
right, but it didn't feel like it. What I'm saying was he didn't have those splash plays.
Yeah, it was a lot more.
He was doing a lot more of the chunk yardage plays, which was fine, right? He was go across the middle a lot in that game.
Yeah, deep completions are okay every once in a while.
I will bring up a little thing on him. It's not like
Oh boy.
No, it's not harping on, but there are a good. He's already had a few. Maybe
Don't lose your seat.
Maybe he doesn't get credited for drops, but there are some where it's like it's in your hands where it's like, I wish you would come down with that one. Like it's kind of hard to say that when you have like 8 for.
You're not talking
yards.
about the one thrown like way over his head that was off his hand, right?
The problem is that
But then
Mark,
he could turn around and all of a sudden.
I know.
That's
exactly where I was getting ready to go.
For a touchdown while it's going over the pylon.
He
Like
makes
it's kind of hard
these-
for me to not.
He makes these magnificent catches, and then there are some where they seem like they'd be a much easier catch that he doesn't make.
And like I
get
said,
that.
not harping on it.
But no.
First world problems.
Sorry.
Like Mike Williams, he jumped 37 feet in the air.
All right, now we can get to James's point. Now that we're talking about first world problems,
It might be more worth harping on that than having a 100-yard game with a couple of big chunk plays.
my point was there wasn't those splash plays that we're
He's
used to
looking
seeing
like-
Mark
he's
Andrews
looking
have.
like the number
This
one
was
tight
the
end
game
again.
that it seemed like when I say breakout, there was the game he contested catch in the end zone over top of what's his face, the cornerback for the Patriots that he went
Mac
over
Jones,
top of.
the corner.
Cornerback.
Better not have been J.C. Jackson.
I'm not sure.
No. Anyway.
J.C. Jackson's
But anyway,
the Chargers.
the uncontested play, you saw Josh Oliver with the 2 big catches. He only had 2 receptions in this game, but one of them was first down, and the other one was a touchdown.
Yeah.
So Josh Oliver playing another role in this. All right, James.
Defense, it's time. Let's go.
Now look, they did better in this game.
Better.
They didn't play
Better.
a better quarterback. That's
Better than
why.
that
But there
fourth
are
quarter.
still some concerns as far as the secondary communication to me. I don't know about you, but I'm I'm starting to get a little bit worried. Now, we didn't see as many of the big plays, but to James's point, to have Parker have the game that he did. Now, you're talking about a guy chunk yardage. That was chunk yardage on the outside, not chunk yardage in the middle of the field.
Scott's starting to get worried with Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and Gabe Davis coming down. Yeah, you should start getting worried.
Hey, look,
Right
running 90 plays and not winning a game. They got something to be worried about too up there too.
Yeah.
They're not going to be worried.
I mean, is anybody else worried about the communication issues? I look, I know it's still early. It's week 3, but half this defensive secondary know each other and should be able to communicate pretty well with the rookies.
And the other half is rookies, and that's the thing, is you got Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters both played pretty well in this game. Again, graded out as 2 of the top 5 corners by PFF in the league this week. So they played out great. It was Brandon Stevens coming back from an injury. He didn't look 100%. Armour Davis is the rookie. He was struggling. Pepe shows promise. You know, he's hit or miss. Like, there's some good plays that he makes, and then there's some bad ones that he makes. But I'm not too concerned with the communication issues. This is kind of what I expected early on in the year, especially when you have 3 rookies playing prominent roles in Pepe, Kyle Hamilton, and Armour Davis, right? Because of the lack of depth that they have right now. Kyle Hamilton with a big bounce-back game to cause that fumble, basically saved the game. Saved the game for
really
the Raiders.
It was a punch-out, too. Full fist
100%.
punch-out.
It was definitely a Marlowe punch, a Hawaiian punch. And then Marcus Peters to save it from going out of bounds.
Yeah.
That dude just has ridiculous ball skills. So I think that the secondary played decent in this game, considering the issues that they had with the rookies being.
Hey, Ryan, remember when your inner 12-year-old comes out when he's saying balls and stuff like that?
I forgot I'm sitting next to a
You're on camera with him.
Forgot I'm sitting next to a 5-year-old.
I just have never heard ball skills referred to as a fumble recovery on the ground, but yes, I mean, it does the skill
No,
of the
that ball. No, he's right, though. That ball was bouncing out of bounds. If he doesn't get his hands on that, it's out. It's still their ball. So, I mean, just overall, the turnovers, like you said, those can't go unnoticed. Not just the Kyle Hamilton punch-out, the Marcus Peters also with the interception. Not only did he have the forced fumble, he had the interception. Marlon with the interception, and Josh Bynes.
Yeah.
All 3 of them coming up big in this game. Overall, I think, speaking of Josh Bynes, this linebacker core had an impactful game. And my question, are we seeing this defensive scheme starting to get rolling when it comes to Mike McDonald and this defense?
Yeah, I mean, my only concern would be, does that add to a little bit of thinking with the chunk plays? Are the secondary, like, are players looking for that huge, I got to make this play, and then they're not focusing on what they're doing type of thing? I mean, right. I don't know if that's the case. I still say, like, for me, and I texted it to the group, it is getting rather annoying when you're watching chunk play after chunk play to guys like Parker, right, or even Ramondre Steven had a lot of really big runs. But fine if I'm giving too much leeway, but this is the guy's like 3rd game as a DC.
So here's,
with, you said, a handful of rookies out there to go with the veterans, like some of them coming back from injury.
Beyond that, when you're talking about like the chunk plays and the run game and whatnot, you got to think of, I know we have high hopes for Odafe, and we all want to see him improve as a pass rusher. And we all had high hopes with Justin Houston coming back as a veteran pass rusher. But they literally have nobody behind them. So they are never off the field. They are never rested or, because, I mean, pass rush takes a lot out of you. Like, constantly trying to go around that.
All the time.
You're going full out all the time trying to create a rush. So if you're out on the field all the time, of course your energy levels are going to be low. So I don't think we're getting the production from those guys that we should be getting. And once we get some of these guys back that are on PUP list or on IR list, I think that'll help, which is having a true rotation at the edge spot.
Yeah, I think the thing that I was kind of getting at, though, is the fact that just this linebacker core as a whole is doing better, right? We saw Bynes. Bynes was all over the field in this game. When you look at this game, dude had 10 tackles, led the team in tackles, plus a pass deflection and the interception, right? That's somebody that's effective. And then you have Patrick Queen, 5 tackles and a sack in this game, right? The tackles, you'd like to see a little bit more. You'd like to see him get a little bit more. But he's stepping up into the role. We saw 3 sacks as a defense, 4 hits on the QB. You'd like to see more all around. Part of that is because Calais goes down for a little bit. Part of it's because Justin Houston goes down. And then Michael Pierce, obviously that's going to hurt as well. So all those things. But given that those three weren't on the field for a portion of the game or half the game in Pierce and Houston's case, I still think it's impressive, and I'm curious to see how much pressure they can continue to get. And now, we're going to get to it here in a little bit. Now that you got Jason Pierre-Paul in the mix, it's going to be interesting. And people point to, we only played 12 games last year with 2.5 sacks. Yeah, well,
played it injured, but then when he came in 2020, he was a big component to the Super Bowl run that they had. Yeah. He's had, even though he blew off half his damn hand, like he never really skipped a beat. He was still a very big sack presence and just game changer. Like, I mean, I am looking forward to it because it is that extra depth. It is maybe this guy gets, a couple other guys get some breath because it's like that's where it is. Like with Pierce and Houston getting injured, it was like there's another injury in the way where it's just like, can it just stop happening at some point, to get some breathing room at some point.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ryan.
Last one on this game specifically is, I think this is a huge game for Eric DaCosta because there were some people like worried about some of these pickups, some of these rookies. We're seeing some of these rookies, like you said, do better all at the same time. You got the first sight of our defensive line draft pick. We got Hamilton with the big punch out. Of course, the safety that we picked up in free agency has been balling all year. So it just kind of feels like I feel better about our offseason after this game than I did any of the other games, to take a little bit of that fan hate, the whininess.
I hope you come
Lacey
back next
and Eric,
week.
Whatever.
I hope you come back next week because we should.
I've already made 2 weeks in a row, Fred. James, holy shit! I respect you so much in strips. Your name's Fred now.
We should have went. We should have went to New England and did what we did, but we got Buffalo coming in here. You'll see a different.
I'm just saying the individual players. I'm not worried about. Yes, the defense needs work, but the individual players that we have picked up this offseason have looked really good.
Matt
this week.
Jones doesn't
it gave
look
me a little
that good.
hope for the future.
Wait, look. Before we're going to talk about the Bills. So let's spoiler alert again. One more thing.
I don't think it's a spoiler.
Games in that
I don't think it's a spoiler.
You said mute him.
One more thing I do want to point out though, and granted it was a low penalty game called anyway. But the team walked away with only 2 penalties at 10 yards. Like, anytime it's a low penalty game for me, like, it needs to be brought up. In my eyes.
You brought it up. I had Carrie, so credit to my wife for making these. We're gonna do a cheers to the Maryland teams, not only just the Ravens, but the Terps, who figured it out this week with minimal penalties.
Yeah, find a ref squad that doesn't call them. I like it.
Find a ref squad that keeps their flags in their pocket. Yeah, absolutely.
Cheers to the ref squads that keep their flags in their pockets.
Let the boys play.
Yeah.
Oh, man, those are so good. Liquor 43 with a little bit of whipped cream, heavy whipping cream, whipped. It's delicious. But no, I think it's a good point, and I think it's one of those things that, it can be some of the refs not calling them. We've seen some of the refs be ticky-tacky at times.
I watched 2 teams this weekend. It was great.
Well, for me, it's always great when, like, don't let that third team be any kind of real decision makers and add to it. Like, you could, all right, let's be negative on the Ravens. You can do enough to screw yourselves up.
But here's the deal.
Don't do stuff that lets that third team decide on the field, like, nah, here's a flag for no reason.
Here's the deal. We talked about a guy like Daniel Falele. He had 1 false start penalty, and that was it. He figured it out after that. On the road in Foxborough,
James, mind you, no Ravens team has won in Foxborough in history during the regular season. Okay, just letting you know.
It's not like we go up there every week.
It doesn't matter. I'm just saying.
And they had a lot of Tom Brady's.
Yeah, I understand that. I get that.
Tom Brady.
Still Bill Belichick up there.
I'm pretty sure if the Ravens went back up this year, they'd probably beat them again.
All right, well,
that team is not that great.
Let's turn the page.
But Parker made us look good.
All right, so those scary Bills are coming to the bank. So they just lost a heartbreaker to Miami. If you guys didn't know, like,
did you see the offensive coordinator at the end?
I love that.
Throwing a goddamn fit.
Apologize.
Word of advice: do not bet on the NFL this year.
Like, don't.
You will lose your money.
Don't do daily fantasy sports. Don't do it's general.
Do follow whatever he's doing in
the
Pick'em League.
About the only thing I got going on right. But anyway, like, somehow they played Miami the weekend, and it wasn't Miami. It was like 150 degrees out because you could see it. Like, Diggs at one point was laying on the ground, like, trying to get as much shade as possible. Somehow, though, the Bills ran literally 90 plays. They had the possession. Time of possession was in their favor. They had like 40 minutes.
40 minutes, yeah.
I think Miami only had like 270 yards total, like of offense. Tua had a concussion, wink, wink. And somehow, like, Miami
fell
still
walking.
wait,
He had a concussion.
and what?
Did you not
He
see
went
him
to a
stumble
knee
and fall?
walking. He had a concussion.
no,
for sure.
That's why I said wink, wink, because he didn't have it. Everyone's trying to like say it was some back thing.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Oh,
wink, wink.
I
he
read
had
that
a
wrong.
back
Yeah,
issue.
yeah.
You definitely read that wrong.
Yeah,
Okay,
he
yeah, I
should
did.
not have been allowed
They
back
had
in there.
a butt fumble off the long snapper.
The butt punt.
for
Yeah.
safety,
Yeah.
and somehow Miami still holds on to win it.
I think that the thing here in that game, number one, it proved to me Miami on offense is efficient.
Yeah, they are.
When you talk about a team that has a low time of possession in 2 straight games and can win those games against tough teams like the Ravens, like the Bills, it tells me that they're efficient, right? Up until Tua getting hurt, real deal. The whole Tua thing, I'll go off on a rant for a second. Dude was concussed.
Clearly.
He got up. He literally did the whole
He looked
like
good to
the whole shake. Like I can't see straight. Let me see if I can see straight now.
Yeah,
Shake
sorry,
his head.
man.
Man,
Walk
him
straight.
still.
Then he can't walk straight. Then his lineman's holding him up, and he still can't walk straight. I tell you what, NFLPA. If it
it's
doesn't
under
come out that he
investigation.
had a concussion and that they
was his
did
back.
not follow protocol,
Somebody's
it's
palms are
all
getting greased.
I would say it's all BS, and there's money going somewhere because it was clear. Somebody, I forget who it was. Somebody on ESPN yesterday was making the claim of, they were saying it's this back injury. It's been a lingering thing, and it's a pinched nerve. Da da da.
Looks like it.
And they took the video and they showed him do that, and they were like, "You don't go when your spine hurts, buddy.
Right.
You go when your spine hurts, right? You go into
I hope my
catatonic
back
mode
never
when your
hurts
spine
like
hurts.
that.
You do not go into that mode. He was concussed. They should not have allowed him in. But overall, again, they were efficient with the ball. So to me, it shows 2 things. One, if you're efficient with the ball, you can beat the Bills, or they can beat themselves. Take your pick. But B, the Miami is figuring it out. Whatever they've done, it's working for the first 3 weeks of the year. We'll see what happens. But to me, this Bills team coming in now, they're coming in wanting to prove something. They're wanting to prove that the Miami game was a fluke. And who better to do it against than what's considered one of the tougher teams to beat in the NFL right now by many, especially with the hottest hand quarterback in the league, hands down in Lamar. This team has something to prove. This could be a dangerous game for the Ravens if they get down early.
Yeah, and I think we're in for probably a high scoring game in general. Anyway, they have so many. They're decimated by injuries in the secondary. Tre'Davious White still isn't back. Then they lost their backup, the next cornerback. Micah Hyde's down. Like both safeties are down for the year. Both safeties were out. Like they have their own issues with injuries. You know what I mean? So in defense, I see this being a real
Probably like 9.
whoever gets the ball last, it probably will be 11-10, like Sunday Night Football.
Oh my God.
But more likely they'll at least be. I mean, you're going to have a decent amount of scoring in this game, just based off of the injuries in their secondary and our secondary still figuring things out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what type of role Jason Pierre-Paul plays, right? We talked about him. He signs that 1-year deal. Now, look, we're still waiting on the final details to come out because it hasn't. I think, and Fred, you probably know this of anybody, and maybe you know it too, Drew. I think they have technically until Friday to announce the hit on the cap that Pierre-Paul will take. But going into Friday, they have to say, if he's going to be active, they've got to say what the cap hit's going to wind up being, which means the contract details come out.
Yeah,
So-
I'm pretty sure all that stuff's already finalized. I think it's like it's like a $1.1 million deal with incentives that could pay him up to 5.4. Is what?
Yeah. So when you see 5.4, that's
contract.
not like the hit. Like
No.
To the 1.1.
No, well, right. And what I had seen, the only thing that I had seen before was Jeremy Fowler today saying that the deal had a guaranteed base salary that was unknown to many reporters at this
1.1
point.
is what I heard. It's
Okay.
a guaranteed base.
Okay, so I hadn't heard that yet. So it's 1.1, $150,000 signing bonus, and then playing time / sack incentives that get him above that $5 million overall.
Right.
So
So
to
the
that
signing
point,
bonus doesn't count, so it's like 850,000 will be the cap hit.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see the final numbers, but again, I think we had like $5 million in space, so this is going to count somewhere around the
1 to 2 mil.
to $1.5 million. I think against the cap,
somewhere in there. And that's the thing is Jeremy said, being that it's almost a quarter of what they've got left. Expect him to maximize it and put him to work right away.
Oh,
he needs to come in. He needs to be in camp. And Harbaugh said on Monday he expected him to be here today. He's wearing number 4. For everybody that doesn't know, he's wearing number 4 on the Ravens. Really weird to see him go from 90 to 4.
It's weird that he can't put a hand up to say what his number is.
He can. It's just left-handed.
It has to be left-handed.
That's because he wanted 3, but was already taken.
I still love that photo we shared with each other where the bad hand is the hand that's holding the pen.
Oh man,
he's figuring out how to write still with that right hand.
Here's the deal.
Give him credit.
Here's the deal, though. I mean, the guy has had a pretty good career overall. I think between his time with the Giants and his time with the Bucs, he has like 90 something plus sacks.
Couple
right?
Super Bowls.
I know he only has 2.5 sacks for last year. He's playing injured. He only played 12 games. If he's healthy, which reminds you. Everybody has said the Ravens have the toughest physical in the NFL.
If you're wearing purple jersey and you're healthy, then you're good to go.
Unless you're Vikings.
Yeah.
But yeah, if with the toughest physical in the NFL, if he's coming in, he's healthy, he's fit. They brought him in a second time. And look, they got him on this. We're talking about deal, and we don't know the exact. If it's 1.1, God, that's a steal.
Yeah.
He was getting 13 last year.
Yeah.
13, and this guy's taking 1?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the incentives are as far as like what the numbers are for him to hit the achievables, but still, even if he maxes out at 5.4,
he thinks they're attainable.
To me, $5.4 million is still a steal to get a guy like this, especially at a position that you need. We just talked about they're going to have some sort of rotation, and right now they absolutely don't. Right? They got to create pass rush from somewhere. And I told you last week, I don't give a shit if it comes from the edge. I don't care if it comes from the interior.
I don't care if it takes 3 fingers.
I don't care if it takes 3 fingers, whatever it is. Just get to the quarterback, right? And the more bodies that you have, Jason Pierre-Paul is a guy that you have to account for. If you don't, he will make you pay, right? So does that mean that Travis Jones is going to continue to get one-on-one matchups? Does that mean Calais Campbell is going to continue to be lined up against a tight end and win those battles? Like, this is a really good, undervalued signing, I think, for the Ravens because obviously, 1, there's a need, but 2, I think this is going to be very impactful.
I want to be really clear here. You should never make fun of someone's physical disabilities unless that happens when you are a multi-millionaire and you're playing with an M80 like a 12-year-old and blow your hand off. Then fair game.
Thank you for the clarification, Ryan. That would be the idiot card. Here you go. Look, but here's the deal. On the football field, dude can be a man to reckon with, right? And to your point, that's that piece that's the value to me, right? We've talked about this at length time and time again with EDC and what he's been able to do. He has been able to bring guys in that make an impact or have some type of impact, or at the minimum, a guy that the offense has to account for at all times. So for me to bring him in at this low value deal against the cap, to add depth to your point, Fred, not only is it just that you got to account for him, now it's depth, right? Now you have a little bit of a rotation on that defensive line that maybe you didn't necessarily had before, because when Houston and Calais were both down, we felt that the pressure wasn't there, right? We all saw it. So for me, I think it makes sense. I really think he's going to play an impact in this game. Flip side of the ball, I think one of the keys to the game is we've got to have this offensive line stay healthy and protect Lamar and give him the time to do what he needs to do, whether that's run, pass, play option, whatever. He's got to have that time, and this offensive line is the key. I liked what I saw last week, even with Makari going down, Falele filling in, Ricard stepping up. I want to see Justice Hill and JK, or the combination of the two, continue to open up the run game, because all that's going to do is bite the linebackers up, maybe even bite a safety up for across the middle, and for the slot receiver, and then all of a sudden your outside guy is one-on-one. And now that's where your Batemans, your Duvernays come in and can play a huge role in this game.
Yeah, and that's like I said it a minute ago, like them having 40 minutes of possession, like that can't happen in a game like this. Like you need the ball, you need Lamar to have a chance to to spend time on that field doing his razzle dazzle he's been doing so far. Like you can't have him sitting over the sideline too many extended periods of time, because you can't have this defense on the field that long. Miami's defense is a lot better, and it was everyone playing. Pretty much, I wouldn't say every team. No team is 100% in their personnel at this point, basically. But you know what I mean? Like that's a whole different story. Like if you're allowing the Bills to do what they were doing to Miami, it's going to be a long day, because you're not going to be on offense enough. So yeah, like you said, maybe hopefully the running game turns it out a little bit more. Maybe Dobbins gets a little more touches, and we'll see how that pans out. But I just think it's going to be a real high-scoring game.
So for me, it's the offensive line. For you,
me,
it's the run game
a little bit, just controlling that possession clock.
Couch,
even
Fred,
if it is
right?
passing, just controlling that passing clock, like the possession. Whoever has to control the possession the most, to me, probably wins this game.
Couch, Fred, Ryan, what are your keys?
I
Anything
100%
different?
agree with Drew. Time of possession is going to be absolutely critical in this game, because, again, you got to keep the defense off the field as much as possible. I think this is a statement game for Lamar, right? Like we talked about, like the contract situation. Obviously, he's already played great these first 3 weeks, but
He's the top touchdown quarterback.
I get
and
that,
the
right?
top, fourth ranked running back in the league.
Right, I get that, but the stank
rushing.
in Lamar's eyes is, what did the Bills do to us in the playoffs, right? So I think that this game is important for him for contract reasons and for just getting getting off the snide of losing to the Bills in the playoffs. I think Lamar has a really big day in this game, because I'll be honest with you, the Bills secondary isn't very impressive to me right now. They're in shambles a lot like we were a couple years ago. The X factor I think is going to be in this game is, how does the offensive line hold up against Von Miller? Because Von Miller is a game wrecker. And Daniel Falele's a rookie, right? And if they're going to attack our weakest point, right?
Yeah.
So if Daniel Falele's
I
out
expect
there,
Ricard to be on that side a lot.
oh, 100%. Ricard will be heavy in blocking in this game, but I think it's a game that the Ravens can compete in. It will be high scoring, but I agree with Drew. I think time of possession is huge.
I'm too dumb to understand time of possession and
so
number of plays ran, because if you score in one play in 7 seconds, then you still got the same number of points.
And that's where I was getting ready to say that my only argument against time of possession is Miami proved that time of possession doesn't always matter. It's how effective you are with the time that you're given. So if you're up by so much at the end of the game and you're churning the clock, that's one thing, right? That's where we all want to be. You want to be up by so much, you can just run the clock. But if my job is to get down the field and score, and I do that in 7 seconds or 5 minutes, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's all about being able to be there. Now, I get the it can be a little bit more on one side or a little bit more on the other, and guys are getting tired. But ultimately, if we can be efficient and get down the field and score every time, then the time of possession doesn't necessarily matter.
Time of possession matters a lot when you have a good defense, because your good defense is going to get tired and be a bad defense. But in my mind, we have a bad defense, so it doesn't matter how fresh they are. You need the opportune turnovers. So you got to score 7 all the time. You got to win the turnover battle. And you win the game.
Yeah, I think the weird, and maybe it's just I'm wrong, but it was like a weird combination. Like, yeah, I said all that stuff that was in favor of the Bills, but they were also playing in that weather, and it seemed like it didn't affect Miami's defense at all, because you're saying, like, all right, you're playing in 100-degree weather. Well, the Bills looked like they were gassed, and like the Miami defense looked like they were just it didn't, like, playing that, having 90 plays against them didn't bother them one bit. It's just a weird thing, but I still, to me, like, it's a possession thing.
I don't think we should be looking too much at the Bills and the Dolphins. That's an interdivisional game.
Yeah.
Those games are always different than how the teams match up against their non-divisional teams. Listen, the Bills are an absolute juggernaut offensively. Stephon Diggs is going to be a home game for him, so I'm sure he wants to show out in front of the home crowd type thing. So you got to account for him. And Josh Allen, I love Lamar, and I think he's the best quarterback in the league this year so far, but Josh Allen isn't far from that guy. Now, I don't think he's going to have the longest career, but...
Yeah. I may not have to talk about this again, so let me just say it now. Every Ravens fan should be a Tua fan. Every one of them, because the more solid he is in Miami, the more it takes away that like dream scenario of playing for the home team.
I was thinking
free
about this the
agency.
other day, right? So
it takes it off the map.
My mind went that same route. So you've got Tua, who's playing really good in Miami. You got Trevor Lawrence figuring things out in Jacksonville.
We're
so
taking away the Florida
his only
teams.
Florida team would be Tom Brady retiring.
And
I was
even
literally
then,
thinking about this the other
I
day.
really don't think you want to go to Tampa.
I don't know. Never know.
Well, shit. I mean, even the link to the Lions, like, okay, Goff's no world beater, but they're playing pretty damn good on offense right now.
I'm just
like,
saying.
hopefully they keep that up, and that's another one
A
off
lot
the table.
of crazy NFL rumors that I thought were bullshit have been proved true recently. So all the talk in the back was of he might go home to play for Miami. We want that door shut and closed. With Tua for fucking NFL Player of the Year, please, right now.
And the guy got Leah winning the Heisman.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna lose that bet. He threw 2 interceptions this week, and I'm done with it.
All right. So, obviously, Fred, you had mentioned earlier, Week 10's the bye week, right? So let's take a quick glance at this, get everybody's thoughts. What do you see, right? So Week 4, this is what we're going into against the Bills at home. It's on a 1 o'clock game, CBS, nothing special. What do you think here? I know don't get into full predictions, but is it a winnable game?
No, all I'm saying is with this stretch of games here before the bye week, this is where you make or break your season, right? There's obviously divisional games, all that stuff will come later in the season, and that's uber important. But all these games, right? You got tough games. You got Buffalo, you got Cincinnati, you got Tampa Bay, you got New Orleans, but they're all winnable games, right? This team can really separate itself from the pack over this stretch before the bye week. And then after the bye week, hopefully, this is when we'll start to see a lot of these guys that right now are on the IR come back and be helpful so that the team is only going to get better after the bye weeks. That's why I say if you can somehow come away in these next stretch of like a 5-1 or a 4-2 in this stretch of 6 games, you're setting yourself up for future success this year.
The good thing, too, about this is when you look at the latter half, weeks 8 and 9, right, the 2 primetime games, the Thursday night versus Tom Brady in Tampa on Prime, and then you've got the Monday night game in New Orleans on ESPN, then it's the bye week.
Right.
You get those buffers each week. The only short week you've got is the Tampa Bay week. Then you've got the extended weeks to the next 2 weeks to get ready for the Panthers coming after that in week 11. There's a lot, to your point, that can happen in this that they can. These are winnable games.
Yeah. Brady will be in hospice by that Thursday game, so we'll be okay.
So that's where I was
Wait,
going
he
to
looks out
say.
like he was going to be dead. He's so sickly.
For
Jesus.
me, like that's where I'm going to say with the schedule coming up. It's these 2 games. How do you come out of these 2 games that gives you that glimpse of what you're going to do? Because the Giants are off to a good start.
Saquon's baby.
It's the Giants. It's Saquon's basically. They don't have a wide receiver core at this point.
Saquon.
Cleveland is a home. I mean, it's a division game, but it's the home game. But you get that Tampa game and New Orleans game. I remember when me, you, and James were doing the predictions. That's when it was like, all right, I can see them kind of having a good record, and then this is that either make or break type of thing. But Tampa really doesn't look like the same, like you said.
It's not the same Tampa.
It's not the same
But
Tampa.
you know they can flip it like a switch
I get
quickly.
that. But like you said, so it's not the Tampa we would have thought right now.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, by the time you get to New Orleans, Winston's back might not hold up, and if it does, I mean, if they're doing INTs and takeaways the way they're doing right now, that's a takeaway feast right there. So I'm with you. Like, I could see the stretch still being pretty favorable by the bye.
You're allowed to lose 2. Hopefully you don't.
Don't let it be these 2. I kind of feel like don't let it be these 2 because that's the competition at the end of the year.
Yeah, especially with don't be the first one since you embarrass.
Right, exactly.
All right, let's shift over to our primetime predictions. Point is note for the room. We called it out in the chat. No dude perfect this week.
Yeah.
Amazon Prime.
Really? I didn't even know.
Yeah, I don't.
Do you not pay attention to the chat?
No, I muted this shit a long time ago.
Yeah.
I do think that it's a situation like the Mannings where it's not every week.
That should never happen
see.
again.
I mean,
Hey,
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Were
but
you?
I'm saying,
Who
I
was
think
it? Was
that's
you
what
or
it
James that sent the dude perfect got that Amazon money?
So that was what it was. They're basically like they're building $100 million like headquarters, which is like a theme park, basically like a dude perfect theme
like
park.
where you can do all these trick shots and
because
stuff
they
like
got
that.
the Amazon money.
But they did that with the Walmart money. Holy shit, they're upgrading that factory.
Yeah, no,
That
like
was
it's a whole
already
like downtown
ridiculous.
No,
facility.
this is literally like
with a huge building. It's going to have a drop tower where you can drop stuff and make trick shots. It's going to have like not a mini golf course, but kind of like almost like a mini golf / par 3 course
Yeah.
where you're going to be able to do trick shots, like whole like
My
level
God.
of shit. It's crazy. You have to go look at the chat. I know you muted it, but pull it back up and
I'll
look at
have
it
to go
because it's
back up.
crazy. All right, so
gonna have to
pigskin.
go way back.
Yeah, right.
Now,
Pigskin pick 'em we.
Ryan was too busy reading about the news.
It's the Orioles. You know how it is.
He's
You guys-
over there wearing
you guys
an
said
Orioles shit.
400
That's what he's
texts
doing.
in one Orioles game. I can't keep up.
All right. So our pigskin pick'em lead, the update. First of all, shout out to, we're going to start doing this each week.
out to Drew Nicholson.
Yeah, not yet. The last week's single week point leader, one Buffalo Chuck.
Hey,
78 points for Chuck
There you
last
go,
week.
Chuck. Good job,
Credit
buddy.
to him. He was first topping Drew.
We would have tied, but I didn't pick the Cleveland game. I would have picked Cleveland because remember I picked Cleveland on the show, and it was like I lost 1 point for it. I would have tied
Because he didn't
Travis.
formally click it. He didn't save it. So Drew is leading the way between all of us. He's got a 28-18 record. He could be leading if it wouldn't overall
Alex
if it wasn't for that.
Alex has got a pretty good lead on the
Alex
on the
does have a good
points,
lead. We're going to
yeah.
bring this up. Alex
tied,
is
yeah.
28-18 with 266 points. Dude is on fire. I don't know if he's figured out some kind of glitch in the system or something, but he has racked them points up. Alex, you need to start some type of like
money
betting.
line.
Some
He's the only one that
betting
can
line,
bet on football right now.
right? It's one of those things, but credit to him. Drew's in second. Bali Urbina has been coming up. Mr. Savage has been coming up in the rankings here very quickly. Also in the top 10, Jason Torgerson. Christy Hewitt has broken the top 10 as well, along with Joe Carlozo. So credit to everybody on there. Oh, the other one, JPH Trainwreck made a huge jump this week as well. So credit to everybody across the board.
Isn't Alex the one that lives in Orlando?
No, that's Steven.
Steven
my bad.
Severs.
I
Yeah.
figured it was getting inside information from Disney ESPN.
What's the money line on this one? Yeah. All right.
Creeping.
So
I'm at like 18th now. I'm coming.
I'm not because I haven't submitted it week 2 or 3.
I've fallen back a little bit. I need to pick it up.
Ryan's fairly done. I just don't go to ESPN like at all. I only go. I look at the
literally-
box score for the Terps,
So,
and that's it.
I'm with you. So with it being I'm in that Ryan Ripken league, the draft. Like I didn't have the ESPN.
So you had to download the
I
app.
didn't have the ESPN fantasy app anymore because I haven't played ESPN fantasy in forever. So I think having that, I can jump in the games a whole lot quicker.
Yeah, if
It
this was
seems
on
like-
Sleeper, I remember in a
right.
heartbeat.
Nah, I always do when I get the email when
Yeah.
they update me for
You
my scores.
you're in that league with Lacey DeCosta, right?
yeah.
Nice name drop there. We'll see if that comes around.
Be cool if Eckler and Javonte Williams could do something.
All right, let's get into our primetime predictions. Our standings for the guys on the show so far. Ryan, you've been in and out, so you don't
Not
quite
here.
have standings. But so far, myself, Fred, and Drew all tied at 8-5.
Nice week.
James at 6-7. But James had a debatable pick to click last week because he did pick the Cowboys, but he put the score as 21-21. So I'll give him half
Somehow
of it.
the system gave him a win on it.
If he-
It should have been a win.
All right, so here's the deal.
After that first half, though, I thought this is gonna be a fucking tie, isn't it? It's gonna be
Didn't
a
he
tie.
call the tie the one time?
Yeah, he did. He called a tie last
yeah.
week. So for this game.
No, he nailed a tie before. It was
Oh, he
last
has nailed a
season.
tie before, yeah. So here's the deal. We'll keep talking about it off air, but we'll decide whether James actually truly gets a pick.
He gets it, whatever.
All right,
We'll give it
fine.
to him.
Did I
If
get
not,
one?
then it's Fred.
It's the only thing that counts for me.
Hey,
is
6 and
picking
7.
clicks.
We'll give it to him.
Yeah, we'll give it to him. All right, so let's actually go through and look at this week's game. Let's start with, obviously, the Ravens game. We've kind of gone over all the keys of the game, everything that we think will happen here. I think ultimately, we agree. It comes down to our offensive line and run game. Can we keep it? Can we get them going to the point that it helps the passing game? And then can the secondary communication clear up enough to be able to at least somewhat stifle Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and even Knox, who's been playing a role here recently? I think it's one of those things that it's going to come down to a very close game for me. I know that this could go one of two ways. It can be a high-scoring game, or I don't think it's going to be a low-scoring game, because I don't think the defenses are going to show out that much. I think the teams will wind up hurting themselves in certain situations. Might see an interception or two on both sides. For me, close game, 1-score game, and I hate to say this.
Oh, I didn't even realize.
Bills 30-27. I hope I'm wrong. So for our Ravens fans out there, I hope I am wrong. I want to be wrong. Sorry, Chuck, you're the one exception. I hope I'm wrong. But I think it's going to be a close game, and I think that Josh Allen, they're not necessarily going to be able to get over that hump because I think the Bills have something to prove in this game after that last-minute loss to the Dolphins. What do you got, Drew?
Yeah, I got Bills, and even though like I do think it's going to be a high-scoring game, I guess when I gave the score, I'll stick with my score, but it's a 24-20 because at least to point out like it is going to be that close game. I still think the except for the score I'm actually putting, like it does have that feeling of a high-scoring game. Who has the last ball? These are one of the the best offenses in the league with defensive issues or injuries. So like. Despite the score I gave, like it really do. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, a close game.
While the Bills may have secondary issues, their front line is a force to be reckoned with at times. So that you got to make sure that our offensive line can hold up against them. So that's where I can see it being both ways. All right, let's throw it over to James. James, what do you got this game?
Well, I see everybody else's who they pick. If I could, I would like to switch it because because the way I feel is. I submit mine, Drew submit ours, and like you
Scott
guys have to see what like what I can
Most
adjust
of
it
mine
because
are first most of the time.
well, since you skipped over because you're going over, you went 1 and 3 last week, but you didn't want to bring that up, but you bring up my 6 and 7, so we'll bring up your 1 and 3.
Sure, go ahead. That shows I wasn't listening to you, James.
Hey, I had a 3
Thanks
in one
for
day.
proving your point.
I had a 3 in one day that made up for a lot.
I'm just saying, but when you look at records, like I gotta go this way because I don't want to lose, but with all you guys picking the Bills, I would pick the Ravens just because just to get an extra one over here.
Today. Jesus.
I'm saying
I
I'm
have the
beat
Bills
Knew I should have thrown it to the
45-27,
couch.
but like I said, now I think the Ravens will win this game because everybody else picked the Bills.
No, James can't do that.
I'm not letting it happen.
No switch.
Somehow you have only losing like 6 games. Am I right? From our predictions from not too long ago, were you still at 11
Yeah, 11-6.
Yeah.
But like you had them losing to, or you were right with Miami. Like you've had them losing like all along. Like you've had them losing to Miami, the Patriots, and now the Bills.
No, I didn't.
You did have them. No,
I didn't. I go back and look.
You had them losing
My
to
2
Miami.
wins that I got last week were the Patriots and the Cowboys.
No. He's talking about the
That's what I'm
Ravens.
saying.
He's talking about the Ravens
picked-
record. When we went down,
picked us-
you basically said the Dolphins,
don't-
the Patriots, and the
But
Bills were the 3
my
games
point
we were
being,
going to lose.
for the year, you picked them having 6
got a
losses.
backpack?
This Bills game would have been the 3rd loss you've already given them. I think you got to.
Relax, Rambo.
We put
I
this
got
in a
it
long
right here.
time ago.
All right, while he's looking
Hold
that
on,
up,
right here. I had the Ravens winning week 1, week 2, and week 3.
I'm not talking about that though. The reason I'm bringing that up
What are you
is
talking about? You say you're just talking
you
about
have
this.
them going. You have them having 6 losses, but on this primetime predictions, you had them losing to Miami and New England, and now the Bills. I think you have to stick with
I
the Bills.
didn't
You already
have
picked them.
them. I had them
All right.
beating the
All right, so obviously-
New England.
all right, let's go.
Clearly, he's sticking to the Bills.
Go ahead,
I
Fred.
did have them beating New England last week. Go look. That's why I'm
Fred,
2 and 2.
Fred, you can be the deciding factor of whether he's allowed to change afterwards or not.
We'll
But
figure that out.
You guys, there's no money on this.
Pride.
it's pride, motherfucker.
Here's
Pride.
the thing.
I can tell you my 2 wins that I
Hey,
got
it's
last
Pride,
week.
part-timer.
Look,
Hold on.
Drew, let me get it straight for you.
I believe it.
I took.
Let Fred go. He's
Hold
got
on.
hurt.
I took the Steelers. You wanted to make this a point. I took the Steelers last week. They lost. I took the Ravens to beat the Patriots. I took the Cowboys to tie, but I had to pick one, so I took the Cowboys. But I lost the 49ers to the Denver. So there you go,
God, that
2
was
and
such
2.
an ugly game.
That was the
All right.
worst game ever.
Fred, go ahead.
Same
What
score as the game against
All right,
Houston.
Fred, what do you
So
got?
I'm just going to agree. I think this is going to be a very high-scoring game. I think that, again, like I said, Stephon Diggs, it's a homecoming for him, but you got to account for Gabe Davis. That is a guy that you cannot just let go because he will burn you deep, and he is a big play receiver as well. They've got weapons all over the field. Josh Allen can hurt you both ways. This is going to be back and forth, and I think it's going to come down to who has the ball last, and I end up thinking that I think the Bills are going to win this one. I hate to say that, and like you said, I want to be wrong, but I think the Bills win it 42-35.
Okay, so still essentially a one-score game.
Yeah, it's going to be a one-score game.
So I'm going to take care of this. The Ravens will win because Lamar each week has been checking off boxes about what he has to prove. Everything we said he can't do, he does. And we at the beginning of the year, we said he couldn't throw. He'd light up the sky, and then he wasn't running. He can't run. Well, here's 107 yards. Well, he can't beat the good quarterback. Well, here's Josh Allen sitting in front of him. So Lamar, despite our terrible defense, is going to just keep scoring. All your scores are too low. It's going to be my textbook college high score of 45-52, and the Ravens win. And I'll give you one more. Kyle Hamilton gets his first interception.
Okay. All right.
So Thursday night football, you got Dolphins going on the road to Cincinnati. Fred, who you got?
Dolphins, Cincinnati. Obviously, if you'd asked me this in the beginning of the year, it would have been a slam dunk Cincinnati pick without even hesitation. But the Dolphins are for real offensively. It's a team that can put up a lot of points. Like you said earlier, Drew, they're a very efficient team. Tua is one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league, which will do enough to stay in this game. I think it's going to be a close one, and when I go close, I usually go with the home team, which I did not do in the Ravens game. I'm going to give it to the Bengals in this because it means more to them. The Dolphins right now are 3-0.
Bengals got a lot to prove.
The Bengals are 1-2. They can't afford to go 1-3 if they expect to be in a playoff team. I think the Bengals figure out a way to win this one 27-24.
Fred's 0-2, so I'm Team Tagovailoa, obviously. So the Dolphins take this one down again.
James, what do you got?
I got the Bills winning this 31-27. Close game. They have to win.
The Bills?
The Bills?
I'm sorry, the Bengals.
The Bills are playing
You got
two
James
games.
so flustered right
I'm so frustrated because
He got nose out shit.
it's amazing the messenger doesn't all of a sudden just stop working where you can't scroll all the way back.
Now we got conspiracy theories. This is the best show of all time.
Drew's got an Android. He's not sabotaging.
Yeah, he can't control shit.
All right, Drew, go ahead. You started us off. Good.
Yeah, let's go.
I'm going to have a piece of candy.
What are the Dolphins-Bengals game, by the way?
I'm on the same wavelength as Fred on this one. So I got Bengals 31-27 because I see it being another close game. Like Fred said, it's almost like you really are behind the eight ball if you drop this game because it's to an AFC team. When you get to those records at the end of the year, it comes a factor. Where I go is, yes, it's a close game, and 9 times out of 10, if I think it's a close game on a Thursday night, and I go with the home team.
Right.
Just to help, kind of cancel out whatever I'm thinking in my head. I go with the home team.
So the Dolphins are going to cover up the concussion. Tua will be back, and they're going to show that they can continue to put points on the board against teams that people think they shouldn't. Look, it's been 3 weeks in a row. What did we say that is in baseball? That's a winning streak, right?
It's legit.
Fred, you do it in a better voice than I do, so I can't.
Sorry, I got chocolate in my mouth right now.
This is the best show of all time.
Great. That's what we call a winning streak.
There we go. I'll put him on the spot. But no, I think for me, they're going to be able to do well. The Bengals, yes, they have a lot to prove, but it's just they have too many issues so far this year, and it's just not going to be enough. 37-24 Dolphins. I'm a lone wolf on this one. So, next game, Sunday night. We got the Chiefs at the Bucs. This is one that everybody will probably be watching. Mahomes versus Brady.
Might be in Minnesota because of a hurricane.
Yeah, we'll see where it's going to be.
A lot of interesting.
I've heard Miami. I've heard Tennessee. I've heard Minnesota. I've heard North Carolina.
It's sounding like if they don't do it, it's going to be in Minnesota.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But ultimately, this game, when you look at it, it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be an interesting game. I'll wrap it up for us very quickly. We all went the same way on this one with the Chiefs. I've got it 43-23. Drew, what do you have it?
I've got it 41-34.
No, you don't.
No, I got the 26-20. I'm still getting that mixed up. I'm going to have to start making sure. I'm going to have to start making sure every week I circle. I'm in a different.
James, there's your conspiracy theory. James, he's taking your scores. What do you feel like?
Yeah, he takes them a lot. He likes to read off my
I
picks.
just like to give you a grain entrance into your score.
I have the Chiefs coming back and winning this game 41-34. Everybody's going to have their weapons back for Tampa Bay, so It should be a good show.
All right.
Better than last week's.
Fred, you got it. What's your score?
It's going to be a close game, but again, this means more, I think, to the Chiefs. They've got to win this game. They got to start to feel good offensively. They're missing that big play threat. Tyreek Hill not having him has been a big loss, I think, more than
Juju Smith-Schuster has been a disappointment to them.
Yeah, he hasn't done a whole lot. I think the Chiefs end up winning this game on the road, 30-24 in Tampa Bay.
Ryan?
And Fred's on the board. The Chiefs win in a low-scoring game because Tom Brady can't do anything anymore, and he's down another weapon at this point. So we're going to go 2017 Chiefs.
All right.
So the last one on the slate, Monday Night Football, division game, NFC West. You got Rams visiting the 49ers. Who you got?
Jimmy G is going to play a factor in this game. The Rams, I know it's a division game.
Positive way or a negative way?
Positive way.
He did not look good last week, or the other night. Last night, shit.
You need an extra game to
It was
get under your
Sunday.
belt. If Trey
Sunday
Lance,
night.
if Trey Lance gets 2, he gets 2. Okay,
First class feels
simple
like
as
forever.
that. But he's going to play a factor in this game, but it's just not going to be enough. I think this Rams defense all around, I think we all probably could agree, the Rams defense is going to be able to stop them. And I think the Rams offense, we've seen them hit or miss on week 1 and week 2. Week 3, they kind of stepped it up a little bit. So I think they're going to be able to do enough to put it on the board, but I don't, because it's a division game, it's going to be a heated game. 21-17 Rams for me. Fred, what do you have?
Yeah, I think this is a game that Matt Stafford actually clicks and starts to put things together. I think he does enough in this game. Rams win 24-17.
Ryan?
The Niners look like trash.
Both quarterbacks suck. But, yeah, the Rams will have enough to beat them. They still got some pieces on that team. Cooper Kupp will take a 5-yard pass, 40 yards for him. So Rams will win, I don't know, 20-17. We'll go same score.
All right. James, what do you got?
I'm with Scott a little bit. There is going to be a Jimmy G factor of getting his ass up when Donald runs his ass over for multiple times.
It's going to be sore from standing.
I have the Rams winning this 24-21. It's going to be a close game, division game, but I don't think Jimmy G is going to do much. He didn't do much against Denver. He's not going to do much against Mr. 99.
5-person
Chuck's
sweep.
got the Rams winning 40-27. That's a lot of points in that game.
5-person sweep. I don't know if we've ever picked a 5-person sweep.
All right.
I'm putting
What do you
money
got?
on the other
What
one.
do you, yeah, now you turn in the damn spoiler. He hasn't given his prediction yet.
I'm going with the Rams.
This is a spoiler episode. That's all it is.
Too
This
many
is one of the
people
best
in here.
episodes in a while.
No, it's because you're over there, damn it.
Rams 38-21. I'm with you, like Jimmy G at this point. I think the Rams, granted, I mean, they were going against Arizona's defense, and Arizona's defense right now is like, we got our thoughts on the Ravens defense. At least we can get takeaways and kind of threats. They can't do anything right now. So I think Rams just go in there, assert their dominance for this division right here and there, 38-21.
This is a straight shit show. Sorry. All right.
Hey, we're allowed that. It's an amateur show.
Hey,
It's fine.
look, hey, this is
No
one of
one's
our
getting
fun.
paid.
This is one of our more comedic shows. I will say that. This is one of the
It's
funniest.
more fun to watch. I'm going to watch this one back.
Yeah, right. All right, let's head over to James. James, what's going on? Social media shout out. Who's been out there
Everybody's
chatting it
been
up?
shouting out tonight. Started out a little slow, but I was
Hey,
I was
let's
a little
start
worried.
out with a personal shout out to Steven Severs. Happy birthday, Steven.
Happy birthday, Steve!
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna hopefully see him in about a
James
month
was
and a half. When
professionally
I'm-
going to get there.
when I'm
I was
down
going to
there.
get there, but,
Oh,
you know,
were you?
Daddy.
I'm sorry. I
Daddy
didn't know
got
if
to
you
take
saw
over.
it.
Hey, Daddy,
I
what
was
come over
hitting you with
here?
this football on the
Hey,
side of your
Daddy,
head.
you want to read this off? Like, hold on.
My bad.
God.
Didn't know.
Daddy either needs to be in his seat or not here at all.
I'll be a pacifier. I'll be fine.
I'm going to just, like, put, like, a camera on my notes so you can see over there, Daddy, okay? Anyways, happy birthday.
Happy
birthday,
Steven.
Yeah, that fake Steven Severs can go fuck himself.
Fuck that guy.
Do you want to know?
mute. Go ahead.
You want to say
Member
who went
Steven
first?
Severs.
Yeah, new.
No, I'm waiting on you, James. It's
Yeah,
your
hold
thing.
on. You
It's
gotta
your
say,
baby.
You gotta say it like Drew. New
My man,
new
my
cast
man
member
is like
Steven Severs.
A1
That's right.
Disney guy. He's a cast member now. Congratulations, happy birthday.
That's
Yeah.
awesome, man.
There, look, he even commented. Look, he's blushing and crying at the same time. All right, we just got another person. Thank you, Justin, for coming into the chat so we can add you on the list.
Hey, James, if you just said it, you don't have to write it down. Let's just go. Let's read right
I'm
along.
just counting.
Let's read these.
He keeps all the-
Daddy, I'm just counting to see how many
Files
people
for
are
it.
here.
There's
Alright.
a record. We're gonna send this to the Library of Congress.
Hey, imagine like you're sitting over here and you can't see anything that he's doing. Shut up
I was
and sit
waiting
there.
for him to pull out a composition book out of that book bag earlier.
My God.
You want to
He
see my
literally-
fancy book while you're
I
at
think
it?
he has
1987.
everything he's ever written down from the show in that book bag. I didn't know. I just
All
thought
right,
it was like
all right.
pizza sauce.
Let's
in there.
get back on track. Social media
We hit
shout out, James.
100.
midnight.
We
Who
hit
we got?
100.
Everybody else getting muted here.
gallery over there.
You guys get off the camera and get on the couch and start playing with each other over there.
They did that in a hotel. All right. Everybody else is muted except for James. Go
right.
ahead, James.
Thank you, everybody, for all the chats and comments. We hit 100 real easy. I mean, it was number one, Stephanie Summers and Chuck were 1-2. 2-3. Joshua, Jackie, Sharon Sherry, Steve, C. Iron, Addict, Jacob Paul, Living Legend, Nick Short, Matt Talley joined in.
What's up, Matt?
Will Saber, Abbott, Jamal, Deshaun, Second String Superstar, awesome name, Andrew and Justin, thank you for coming in. And then a new one just came in here, Dome Life, Baltimore, Georgia.
With the quote of the week, Sam Cook is coming out of retirement to play QB for the Maryland Terrapins.
No, we're fine. Even our backup's better than Sam Cook.
I don't know. Sam Cook's got a better passer rating.
Yeah, that's true.
But awesome to everybody that's been in the chat. Love it.
Any
And,
good
keep it
comments
up.
or anything, or any good questions?
Yeah, I got two. I'll put up here if Daddy wants to read it, or if he can't.
I don't know. Am I muted or not? I don't
You're
even know.
unmuted. You're good. You're good.
All right, so what? Chuck, this comes from Chuck. Says, "What does everyone think of the Pro Bowl games? No more Mac Jones and a roster of the available."
Pro Bowl games.
Spoiler alert on this one.
Pro Bowl game. What's the spoiler damn show? Pro Bowl. 2-minute warning. Chill.
warning.
Chill.
All right,
Chuck.
we'll answer that later, Chuck.
Sorry, Chuck. You're gonna wait the whole show for this time, buddy.
Stick around. Adit comments: biggest sign of Giro evolving a bit. Devin is being used as a wide receiver, not just a jet sweep specialist. Also, is likely going to match Andrews' rookie numbers of 552 yards and 5 touchdowns this year. Both of those are great points. It's kind of what we were talking about earlier. That's all really Devin was used, was a jet sweep specialist. Likely, like I said, I think he can still be a big part of this offense, and I thought the two tight end role would be a big thing in the offense this year. I haven't given up when it's only 3 weeks into the year, so 552 yards, I still think is obtainable in a 17-game season. I
The
think
5 touchdowns
it's-
seems
I
less
still
likely,
think, yeah.
but the 552
Well,
maybe.
no, but I would say no to that. Given that you just had Josh Oliver score a touchdown this week, it's very possible the latter half of the week. If people think, oh, we don't have to cover likely, he starts finding some open holes, and he's paying attention to how Andrews finds. Andrews is the master at finding those open holes and the gaping holes in those defenses to. Really? I put you two over there. It turns into two 12-year-olds? Jesus Christ. I feel like a teacher. I gotta separate them.
large gaping hole.
I had no
looked
thought of
at
that
me.
at all. I looked over at Ryan. I can't help
I didn't
but smile.
realize it. I didn't realize I even said it.
man.
Isn't that a Pat McAfee thing?
Here's
Large gaping hole.
We got the gaping holes and the
What?
ball skills all
What?
night tonight.
Here's the thing. I didn't think about what I said until after I look at Fred. Not Ryan.
Yeah.
Fred.
Look
So
at
that's why we
Fred.
turned into
Fred
two
whipped his
12-year-olds over there. Jesus.
Can't take you
But
I
nowhere.
was waiting for him to be giggling.
But no, I think if he can pass that knowledge on to likely latter half of the season could really start to perform and do those things that we're hoping that he can do. If not, I'm fine with Josh Oliver coming on and doing them. We said before Josh Oliver should be that secondary type receiving tight end because he had good hands. We talked about that before. We were talking before likely even came on that it would be Oliver with Boyle and Andrews, with Boyle being the blocking tight end and Oliver being that second Hayden Hurst type
Oliver's got good
tight
hands. Oliver's got good hands.
Yeah.
Does Pierre Paul have good hands?
He's got at least one good hand. This show went off
Why did I not know that was
so
coming?
off the rails.
We are off the rails.
It's 8-8 right now.
All right, boys, it's time to talk Orioles.
I
It's
gotta
the
look that
fourth
up.
inning, and it's 8-8.
That is a crazy score. They're hitting home runs galore for the
right.
Ravens.
Well,
I mean, for the Orioles.
before we get into that, the team is now 80-73, 3.5 games out of the playoffs with 9 games remaining. So including tonight, it's 9 games on the road in Boston. Tonight's game 2. They got 1 win so far. They got 3 games following that on the road in New York for the weekend series up there. When I look at this, I think let's take a step back. We split the series versus the Astros and had 2 winnable games that could have almost, if you win those games, it's a sweep.
Yeah.
Right? And they were very winnable. You had the 1 game that goes extra innings into the 11th inning on Saturday.
Sunday.
Sunday
was the extra innings game. Saturday was the game at 11-10.
I thought it was the extra innings.
Doesn't matter.
All right. Anyway.
Either way.
Either way. They split the series. We did get to see Trey Mancini homecoming. Any quick thoughts on him coming back to town and
it's
how
cool.
he's treated?
Not that I'm so shocked, but fans gave him the standing O. The franchise gave him a great video package for when they announced the lineups. Every time he came out, it's people are, everything that he's gone through being a homegrown talent with the cancer, with the coming back last year, the fans were always behind him, still big fans of his. It was still cool to see that, it wasn't just the fans, it was the organization doing the little video package, because you could just do something before first pitch that if you're not in the stadium, you don't really know, or they don't put on social media. But it literally was, here's this video package, when your rest of your team's being announced. Classy shit always. Yeah.
Great sign of respect. Also happy that, given that he can hit pretty well, they shut him down pretty well.
Yeah, that was going to say,
the wall shut him down.
The wall shuts him down still. But in Houston and in Baltimore, those 2 series, he wasn't.
He hates that wall this year, regardless of what team he's on.
He wasn't a huge factor in either series.
Yeah. Look, the other big thing here, the 2 wins. Bradish on Thursday, 8 2/3, 2 hits, 10 Ks, 0 walks, a career game for Kyle Bradish. What can you say more about this kid?
Let's not talk about tonight though. But yes, I know.
I don't care. It was against the Astros. Whatever.
Going into it, and I said it in the group chat, looking at a start like that from him was the kind of thing you were seeing in the St. Louis series. And granted,
he's been building to this.
But he's been building to it. So ever since he came off the IL, and I don't have the numbers to back it up, but ever since he came off the IL, it was like a 2.5 ERA, stat line not this deep, but it was. The Ks are up a little bit. The command is there a little bit. The
I would
control
imagine
of the game is a little bit. He's not going 4 innings. He's going at least 6. It's a welcome sight to go. Yeah, you view Rodriguez and Hall as those big pieces that we've already talked about.
But here's an unexpected piece.
But there's the unexpected piece from a lot of people, and he's building off of that, and that's one thing that we see that hopefully that carries over in the next year, and that's a rotation spot that you're not worried about.
I don't know for sure.
It really is. I think he's figured it out. Like I said, I know I'm of everybody in the room. I know I was the biggest fan at last on to him right away and watching the minor league stuff, but to see a game like this and to see the progression to that game, it showed that now he finally looks like, all right, I'm starting to figure this out. Something just clicked.
Fred, are you happy with how well Kyle Nickerson is doing?
Yeah, Bradish looks good, man. Like I said, we've been saying it for a while. The guy has got dominant stuff. It's just about location and pitch command, and obviously that was probably an issue tonight. I mean, they've already got 8 runs in the 4th inning, but you don't worry about him as far as the stuff. It works. It can work at this level at an effective rate. It's just a matter of commanding it over a long stretch of time. But what's impressive with this team, especially over the last week or so wasn't just Kyle Bradish. It was the pitching as a whole. I mean, you had
Lyles in the third Detroit game.
You had three consecutive games where you had all three of them that could have been complete games. You had Kramer and Lyles pitch complete games. Bradish got pulled because he got a runner on in a 2-run game, so they brought in Mountain to close it with 1 out left. But I mean, to have that kind of stretch, 2 complete games and an 8 2/3 out of those 3, that's super impressive. And again, 2 of those games were against one of the best teams in baseball.
And as much as I'm a huge fan of Bradish and very proud to see what happened on Thursday, I think the completely overshadowed was the game that Kramer had.
Yeah.
To go the complete game. And I mean, it's not anything to shake your head at anymore, especially unless you're like a guy like Verlander or something like that. Like
if you're a known established name.
Complete games really just don't happen that much anymore with how much you're paying the bullpen.
I feel like we've had more complete games this year than we had like quality starts 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was.
That's probably a good stat to look at. I wouldn't doubt that. Yeah.
So, like I almost like I said, as much as I'm a big fan of Bradish, like to see Kramer come out and do that because that's another one. He hit the IL literally like in the first game, second game, whatever it was. He pulled the oblique. He came back literally. His season kind of started in June. So obviously coming off the injury, you're kind of like working yourself in. But that's another one, like not knowing the stats off the top of my head. Like ever since he kind of came in after a first few starts off the IL, that's a guy that's become another anchor. That's just like, okay, here's another piece of the rotation. Like you're like, okay, well that's a guy I can almost pencil in. That's a cool feeling because you haven't had that in even almost the Buck years. Like you didn't really have guys like that. Two things going into the next year that
two things here.
Rotation.
One on Kramer. I know we kind of, or not Kramer, on Bradish. I want to say you're right. I want to say if we looked up the stats, post coming back from the IL, minus this game going into tonight, we'll take that off the table. I want to say he actually has a sub-2 ERA. If it's not a sub-2, then it's damn close. And if you take off his first like 1 or 2 starts after coming off the IL, it's even closer. He has performed really well. Kramer's performed well. I mean, that outing with Kramer, credit also not only goes to Kramer, but it also goes to the defense. He only gave up 4 hits, 2 walks, and he only had 6 Ks. It wasn't like he had a lot of blow-by-me stuff. Yeah. So I think it's good. James, what's your take on some of the pitching recently and how they've been doing?
It's been great from what we had years past. Like you would only get like 3 to 4 innings out of a guy, and then they would eat up the bullpen. But these guys,
Jorge Lopez is a starter.
These guys are going the distance and showing what we are building down the farm system, bringing these guys up, and even Rodriguez had another good start. Where I can't wait till he's up. This team is looking better next year, and opening day is going to be even crazier. I can't wait to get out there.
Yeah, but I'm not missing this opening day. Next year's opening day,
I'm not missing it. I don't care what, but next year it's going to be so much fun and excitement for the first day. But I just want to say, tonight, Santander hit a 2-run home runs, and then he had 2 last night. So this guy's getting hot at the end.
And he had 2 on Saturday.
Yeah. So this guy's getting hot at the end. So we have to decide like what you're gonna do with him too.
Credit to Justin Marshall for this comment. I was just telling Fred.
This is the explosive.
JPP's handwork is explosive. He said, "What? Nobody likes dad jokes anymore." That's pretty good. All right. No. So one of the things, right, with all the pitching coming up, and with everything doing well. We've been harping on this at times, and it just doesn't seem to be changing. And not that we make change, but are you guys continuing to be upset by not seeing some of the quote, future stars as much right now? I mean, Stowers, he's only started 3 of the last 6 games, right? You've got Vavra, he started 4 of the last 6, but he was taken out mid-game twice. You have Gunnar, they sat him on Saturday, they brought him in to pinch hit. I still think he should have been out there starting, as far as I was concerned. But then you also you keep running Odor out there, and look, he's doing squat with the bat consistently unless he's in the freaking clutch. And defensive miscues, I was there on Saturday. I got so heated when he missed. You're in the defensive shift, and you play that ball off to the side like an ole, and you just let it go into the outfield. It continues to pile up. He not only had 1 error in that game, he had 2 errors in that game.
It happens.
He had a really cool double play last night, though, too.
Yeah.
But
No, let's keep bashing him because he'll have the walk-off. Well, not walk-off because they're on the road.
He'll have something
the
tonight.
go-ahead home run in the 9th, so let's keep talking
All I
about
know
it.
is I don't know why none of you guys told me about this whole week because I would have flown up there and seen the Ravens game on Sunday and then the Oriole game Monday. I was so disappointed when I saw that. I was like, oh, shit, they're back-to-back games. That would've been
why the hell
perfect.
do we have to tell you about it? Don't you have an app?
traveler amongst us?
I got other things going on.
None of us
dude.
had the checkbook to pull it off, so we weren't thinking about it.
Yeah, right.
They were in Ann Arbor, so you can count them out.
Mr. Michigan before or Michigan after North Carolina, the two of you on the couch.
First class over there.
We spent our travel budgets.
Worth every penny.
All right. I just think, for me, I look at it and I say it's a little bit frustrating that I'm not seeing these guys because these are the quote future stars, and it's the guys that, a guy like a Vavra, a guy like Stowers. What if you're not going to play them? Then what the fuck was the point in bringing them up prior to September? It doesn't make
fault
sense
is that,
to me.
Scott? Is that Hyde's?
No,
Hyde's? No.
it's not Hyde. So stop trying to blame it on him.
No, I'm
Go
not.
ahead, Drew.
I'm not.
No,
blaming him. I
yes,
just
you're
wanna
trying.
know.
You don't want Hyde here next year. We know that.
No. He can be here.
Hold on.
He can
Hyde
be here.
writes the lineup.
Hyde writes the lineup.
Yeah. Hyde writes the lineup.
you don't-
All right, so hold on.
Who's to
Hold
blame
on.
then?
Nobody in this room thinks that Elias doesn't have say in what that lineup
I'm not
looks
saying
like
that he
each day.
doesn't have say, but I don't think that he's the overriding factor. He's letting
is
Hyde
good to know.
manage.
Thank you.
I think
Okay.
more of these
I
decisions
had your
fall
back
on
there,
Hyde,
though,
in my
James.
opinion. I think, listen, 4 out of 6 is an improvement of Vavra. I thought we'd see a little bit more on him later on in the year. 3 of
Stowers?
6 with Stowers, I think, is a matchup, lefty versus righty type thing. I'm okay with where they're at now. I wasn't okay where they were a couple of weeks ago with these
When
guys.
Stowers was sitting all the time.
The
Yeah.
entire time.
'Cause-
Vavra wasn't even a factor. Like
Yeah.
these guys are starting to finally get some playing time. And,
But how
start to
much?
show.
But how good is it when you're taking for Vavra? You're taking half of the starts you give him. You take him out halfway through.
No, I get that. Well, I mean, part of it is they're trying to win, right? And again, Hyde is doing things that I don't know. It's in-game management. It's things that are in the moment to try to win games, pinch running, pitch hitting, that kind of thing. Defensive substitutions. I don't have a problem with it.
Drew, what are your thoughts?
I'm with it. That is Hyde's decision. I'm with you. It is annoying. Even compounding what you said was like, when it was happening like a couple weeks ago, and maybe I'm getting the game wrong. I don't know if it was Thursday or Friday, but so it adds to your point. Whichever game it was between Rutschman, Hendo, Vavra, and Stowers, they were like 6 for 16, and they were like the major factors in the game for like all the runs scored just about. So I'm with you. Like it's a weird spot to be in because you're maybe in fans' minds we treat it like, are you really making the playoffs? Because you're in that punching distance, but are you really? So then you might think like, well, now's the time to go ahead and let the youngsters
You need
play.
Seattle to lose 1 out of every 3 games, or 2 out of every 3 games. You got to win.
Fell off
2
in
out of 3.
September. Then yes, by the time we got to the Detroit series, Odor ain't playing. You're some of these
Sit your ass
guys
down,
that
yeah.
like are you're right. Like you're not a factor anymore at this point. We need to see what we have here.
All right.
So I'm on the fence. I see what you're saying, but at the same time, like it's a weird balance of like you're still trying to make the playoffs. So you're still like, as much as I'm like on the fence with Hyde, like you're still trying to find that balance or what works, and that's what's worked the last few days. Whatever he's doing.
To your point, that
worked.
whole 6 for 16 thing, right? Some of that is Rutsch, but some of that's these other guys. So when
I agree.
It
Like
means they're
Stowers
making the
last night, yeah.
right. They're making the most of their opportunities. So why not give them more? Right? If they're that hot, stick with the goddamn hot hand. So here, I'm gonna bring up the last and final question regarding these young future stars. It's the final question. Do we see Grayson come in for a start after his last start in AAA? Look good. Do we see him this year?
I've liked the reports and stuff and stat lines I've seen on him, but I don't see it happening at this point.
Fred?
Nope. I don't think it does.
Ryan?
He looked. I gotta point out, like you look like I do every shell and tell
think he's
segment when there
muted,
is
by the
one.
way.
Like just I'll
No.
be over here on my phone now.
He had, his,
no
he had his
idea.
mic away from his face. All right. Flip side, you do have guys like Santander continuing to do well, and it's real. Look, Santander recently is hard to ignore. We talked about signing guys like Mateo. Mateo has proven he deserved to be on a big league club this year. I think we all could agree with that. In some way, shape, or form, somewhere, he can be on a big league club. So for next year, it's fairly minimal contract for him. But a guy like Santander, look, knock on wood, he has stayed healthy this year, right? And he's showing consistency. Look, 247, okay. It's
It'll
not
go
the
up
greatest,
next year.
but MLB as a whole is batting like 270.
So,
It's the name of the game now because
Right.
the way contracts are given out too. It's just the name of the game. Like with the shift, we'll see how it all changes next
It'll
year.
change.
So you'll see how that changes. But that's just how it is. Like it's just that whole like getting a single like doesn't do anything for me. Like hitting
So
home runs
you-
does something for
you-
me.
Slugging and on base percentage.
Slugging,
How analytics
yeah.
are fucking calculated.
And part of that slugging, in fact, it factors in a little bit of your home run factor, right? He's got 31 home runs this year. So you're hitting your home runs. You've got 85 RBIs. His WAR is 1.9. So home runs, RBI, and WAR, it's his career highs in all three categories.
Santander is the perfect future DH because not only can he be, he can hit from both sides of the plate. He's got power. He can hit from the left side of the plate, but he can also substitute and play outfield in emergency situations when you need him. We don't know where that position is going to come from. So if the plan is to keep him a part of the future, I think that's where he lies.
So are you willing to pay him as an Oriole?
100%. Absolutely.
Drew?
Yeah, I love having him around.
James?
I really do.
I think he's great for the team. This is like a guy that has been here for a couple years that you need a little veteran on there and a little swagger. I like him here, and like I said, next year his batting average is going to be unreal without having the shift and all that. You're going to see that 247 go up to about almost like 290.
You're going to see collectively that go up.
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
everybody.
You're going to see the
look,
300 hitter come back.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. I think you guys are all right. And for me, I'm paying the dude. The dude was a
Well,
Rule 5 draft pick
How many years
that
are you
proved
thinking?
himself.
How many years do you think?
Well, I mean,
both
he's
of
still
you
got
guys?
arbitration.
No,
man.
no.
Like, he's still
He's got 1 year of arbitration.
He's got
left.
1 year, but
I think this is we talked about this before. We talked about Elias spending money. I think this is where Elias starts to spend money on his own guys and avoid arbitration and get these guys on these
Locked up
3
on
to
deals.
5 year deals. And get them locked
When
up
he's
now.
healthy, he shows consistency. Every
Right.
time he's healthy.
And
Every time.
I think he's going to do that with the core group of guys. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised to see Gunnar get extended. I wouldn't be surprised to see
Rutsch.
Hadley get extended.
That's the
And
way
I
things
think,
happen
I think
nowadays.
Santander could be in that group because of what he brings from a power
Talk about
perspective.
like a 4
and being
year
a
deal?
left-handed bat. Huh?
4 year?
3.
I was thinking 3.
3 year deals probably
With
what
an
I would
option?
see. Yeah, maybe.
3-year deal with the
like
fourth
that.
year. I don't hate that.
Now this brings something that I've already been bringing to mind, not including saying. So say we agree with Santander being here the next 4 years. I think Mullins will be here for a little while, but that does bring into thinking like, what does the future look like for Mullins and Hayes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Colton Cowser tearing the cover off the ball in the minor league right now.
I mean,
Kobe
you know
Mayo.
where I'm at.
yeah.
You thought I
Listen,
like Bradish.
yeah.
Look, here's the deal. No doubt about it. We've all seen improvement over this year that no one was expecting. We're 1 win above 500, or 1 win away from being a 500 or above season, basically a non-losing season. We're 2 games from being over a 30-game increase and a winning season in Baltimore. So my question to everybody, as of right now, one thing. We'll expand. So I want to keep it basic, expand on it in a future episode. What does success look like next year to you? Fred's got his hand up. He's
You
ready to
said
go.
one word, right? You said one word?
One phrase, but I was
I'll
saying
just go
keep
with
it
you
short.
one word. Investment. It's time to invest.
Okay. Drew?
Fuck, that's a good one. Why do I gotta follow him?
That was the most like drunk.
Why
Like,
do I gotta follow him?
Oh, that's good. Well,
you want me to go?
No, I got this.
Okay, go ahead.
Pitching.
Okay.
Pitching on we were talking about a couple of pieces we thought would be in the rotation. It's what do you do to solidify this bullpen? You've done a pretty good job of finding these diamonds in the rough, even and you know, the mountain coming out of nowhere and running through this farm system and earning the spot, and then the closer job with the trade of Lopez. But it's all right, what do you do to supplement those three guys at the back between him, Perez, and Tate? Say those are your three anchors. What do you do to that spot to like anchor down? You know, do you really believe in like Crable, Baker? Is it some other like diamonds in the rough? Is that what you do? But is there some other factors in? Like, do you go out and add free agent arm in the pen just to like have that guy that's like the sixth inning guy?
Yeah.
Investments was a good one. You're a asshole.
I hate him for that because that was my word. That's why I put the question in there.
Everybody wants to take credit for the word.
I said it was a good word. I wasn't taking credit.
I don't have a word.
I'm so confused by that question because I think he said next year, but both of you were talking about off season.
That's next year.
Yeah, that's part of next year.
That's
part of
next year.
As soon as the last game happens this year, that's next year.
All right, so but are we talking off season or are we talking like
everything?
What you want to see through next year?
Look, this is basically
It's
like when
all
Maryland
next
goes into
year.
recruitment time. That's the same thing what we're talking about.
This is like National Signing Day when we hit the end of the year. all
Gotcha.
right? Have I equated it well enough for you?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Okay,
You
perfect.
broke it down into terms.
No, I agree with Fred. I like investment. For me, it's investment on both ends, right? It has to be investment on overall talent.
Such a 5-year-old.
I'm just going to put him on camera now.
Put it in both ends.
Look at that cheese face. Look at that cheese face off of Ryan, dude.
I don't know who's more red knight right now,
He's
Fred
such
or
a
Ryan.
5-year-old.
Can you tell?
He's over here elbowing me like, did you hear that?
Anyway, coming back over here. For me, I think I want to see, I agree with you, Drew. I want to see the pitching rotation come around, but we can't lose sight of what's in the minors. We know that Grayson's there. We know that we have guys like a Hall that can come in. You know that you have the talent that can be there.
They got their own thing going on over there. Just keep going.
I'm just muting them so I can't hear them.
Ignore it.
For me, I think it's one of those things that I look at and I say, what does success look like next year? For me, I want to see the bats continue, and I want to see a home. It's this weird statement, but I want to see that wall work into a home field advantage offensively. Mm-hmm. We've seen it actually work against us this year at many times where the balls that would have been out for us. And I would love to see the stats. I'd love to find somebody that could look at the stats and see how many times that wall hurt us versus helped us.
Yeah,
because
it's helped us more than it's hurt us. Yeah.
I think the opposite. I think it's actually hurt us more than it's helped us.
They traded to Houston, so it's fine.
He was here when he was here.
But I'm saying they traded him to Houston.
He was here for one series.
Hey,
he was home for a lot more.
And the walls helped them a lot more than it's hurt
I
them.
want to see that. Oh yeah, hey, I guess I should put James.
Yeah,
I can unmute James. I muted the couch. I muted James by accident too. James, what is your thought process? What does success look like for next year for you for the Orioles? Before we move on to show and tell, where we'll just put it on the couch.
No, hell no. No. I wrote half of this. I'm talking to this segment.
Well, not
Go ahead, James.
not that, but you know me, how I am, and Fred would know. I like to spend money, so I would love whoever. Orioles Nation out there or whatever, your merchandise, dude. I need more jerseys than fucking Mancini and Chris Davis on the fucking websites. I want a Gunner next year. I want an Adley. I'll take a Bradish. I want to fill my closet with jerseys again, not these
Can I unmute the couch now?
clearance jerseys. Whoever it is, I don't want to have to build my own jersey. I want to go on their website or
This seems
MLB
like an
shop.
easy thing to fix. I just don't understand why it's
I don't
not.
get it. Like,
Hey, I gotta
Here's
say,
the thing.
There is such an easy market to capitalize
Pick
on.
your
It
jersey
is. Like,
pick your
every
jersey and
other
a
team
drop
has
down
like
menu of who you
20,000
want. That's all it
people.
is.
You're thinking of it as an Orioles. I really do. I think it's an MLB thing. It's not just the Orioles.
Well, then you need to find another supplier. If you can't get it from
agree, but it's
Fanatics
another
and
one
all
of those
this
things
shit.
that MLB just fucks up.
Yeah, no, that's
let's
the
get on
point,
that
though.
list.
This is not, to Fred's point, this is not hard. It's literally, what style jersey you want? Okay, drop down. Who do you want? That's all that this takes, for God's sakes. Our website where you can get some Birdland BS gear. You can do the same thing. You can pick which one you want.
They know when these players are coming up. If you have them ready to go at the store at the
they
stadium,
fly off the shelves.
The day that it'll be sold out day one. But they're wasting their time with this crap, dude. I don't care about the free T-shirts anymore. I want
so
a fucking
success
jersey.
to him looks like jerseys on the shelves. That's what I'm
Jersey
hearing.
on the shelf. I want to put my closet full of not just having my last name on the back of a jersey. So, Orioles, if you're out there, please, next year, have at least 5 players on there.
All right, it is time for some show and tell, and you two
Or
are
Laffy Taffy over there.
I know, right? Jesus
gonna
Christ!
do
We note to self: Ryan and Fred can never be on the couch together ever again, ever again.
It's probably true.
Probably.
It's entertaining, but it's probably true.
So this show and tell, this show and tell episode, this show and tell segment is going to be controlled by Drew and I, and you two can chime in a little bit. How about
great.
that?
Sounds great.
Shit. Look, I said I wrote half of it. I didn't say I wanted to take the lead.
Yeah, we're here whenever you need us.
You're in the big chair, Drew. Time to step up.
Bullshit on this
So
game.
look, here we go. These two guys, these two knuckleheads over on the couch, they did go up to Michigan. First, let's throw it to you guys for a minute, just to give your experience up there in Michigan. You know, obviously another Big Ten school. You're going up there. You went up to Minnesota the one time for the Minnesota game last year. This year you go to Michigan, and obviously contrasting experiences from going to North Carolina to Michigan, although you brought the rain with you. I don't know how the hell you did that. But either way, experience in Michigan, give us an overall overview and give us a preview of what you guys are going to talk about on Shell and Tell.
So I'm going to start with just saying this trip solidified how shitty we are here in Maryland.
As people?
As people, right? Because here's the thing. Like, we went to Minnesota with
I'm
literally...
offended.
We went
I thought
to...
they were going to say
we
how
went-
solidified their friendship anymore.
No.
Further.
Listen, so we go to
They didn't need the
Minnesota
couch for
with
that.
zero expectations of what to expect. We didn't know how the people were going to be. We didn't know how the environment was going to be. And like we've talked about at ends, like they couldn't have been a more friendlier fan base. Everybody was super welcoming. Everybody was really
Everybody talks about Southern hospitality.
Welcome to
Westport
Minnesota. But it's
Thanks for
Michigan,
coming.
right? So when you think of Michigan, what do you think of? You think of Detroit. You think of something
We
similar
flew
to Baltimore.
into Detroit and took a $40 Uber. We thought it was going to be a little Detroit-ish.
No,
None.
not at all. It was way more Minnesota than it ever was Detroit or it ever was
There is
Maryland.
a bubble around this town, Ann Arbor, man. There is
Yeah.
a bubble.
Oh, I'm sure.
There's not a person there with a problem. Like, they're the happiest people you've
Like
ever seen in
Kaylee
your
said,
life.
I'm pretty sure there's Zoloft in the water there. Everybody, the entire theme of the trip was hurry up and wait, because literally everything that we did, the restaurants, the bars, just everything that we
And
did
try
had
to
some
fit.
sort of a
Everything
weight
was built for
for tiny people.
90-pound individuals.
100%. But nobody seemed to care. It was, you go to a restaurant, it's an hour and a half, 2 hour wait, whatever.
And everyone
Fine.
just pleasantly talking to each other outside,
Yeah.
waiting their
It's
90
the
minutes
East
for a dinner.
Coast. We're
Yep.
so
I'm
it's the
like,
East
what?
Coast living we have.
Why does no one
we
care
have an
about
East
this?
Coast living where people just don't seem to give a shit about each
Yeah.
other.
I'm not going to dinner for 5 hours. They
and
were.
mind
They're
you-
fine.
We're in a
What else you
college.
gotta do?
Mind
Yeah, there
you-
was nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Mind you, we're in a college town with a bunch of people. There's 100,000 plus people expected to be at this stadium. So there's cars everywhere. I think the entire trip we heard the horn honk once, and it was more like a "Hey, Robbie, I see you" type honk. It wasn't like "Get the fuck out of my way" honk like we hear here in Maryland all the time. Like, so my whole reason of bringing this up was I just again pleasantly surprised by the fans that were there. Everybody was very kind, very welcoming. Matter of fact, shout out to this lady who was a Michigan fan. We were at a bar
Regents.
At Regents, ended up covering our tab,
Wow.
came out
What?
to us and was just like,
Yeah.
hey, just letting you know, I paid your tab, just on your podcast, make sure you tell everybody that not all Michigan fans are assholes. And I'm like, wait a minute, we haven't had a single asshole
one.
yet.
We
What are you
found
talking
them. Where do you
about?
keep your assholes at? I've
Yeah,
been looking. Like,
We have a good radar for assholes, and we couldn't find
How
them.
much was this bar tab?
shout out
Yeah.
for to Noggin Boss. My God,
Oh,
we,
man.
we were getting
Put
like
me on the payroll.
we were getting tired talking to people about these big ass hats we were wearing walking around Ann Arbor. Everybody like, oh, that's really cool. Where'd you get it? We had like a friend had like a whole sales spiel to like every person. I'm tweeting at Noggin Ball saying, we need business cards. We're done talking to people.
I was like,
all you need is just like a QR, like a code or something like that.
We talked about that.
That's what the lady apparently picked up, that we had the podcast from the hats, and said, just go home and tell all the Maryland fans that we aren't all assholes. And I'm like, yeah, it hasn't been our experience at all. It's unnecessary.
Nice.
We were already going to tell them that.
We're above what we're used to.
Real quick summary of the trip, though. Food wasn't great pretty much everywhere we went. Food was pretty bad.
Yeah, Detroit pizza's pretty good. That's about it.
The tailgating scene was pretty fucking impressive. I think that was one of the coolest things about it. We were walking around the day before the game, and they had a bunch of, like, at the high school lot and this golf course, which is the University of Michigan golf course, which is right across the street from the stadium. Both of these things, the high school parking lot and the golf course, were littered with fucking trash cans the whole way through.
Like
and
every
we're sitting
40
there,
feet.
we're looking at this golf course like, are they going to let people actually tailgate on the middle of fucking fairways in this golf course?
Yeah.
Sure enough, they did. Now, this goes back to that whole Maryland versus Michigan thing. Like, that happens in Maryland. That golf course is completely trash and completely fucked up.
See people doing donuts in the fucking greens.
100%. Burning shit everywhere. The golf course is a fucking mess.
Don't try to putt on the greens.
Yeah.
But we go up there for the tailgate to check it out, and I mean, it couldn't have been any cleaner. It couldn't have been better spaced out because it's such a
People
big
were
piece of
using
property.
the trash cans. It was insane.
It was like, normal functioning human beings. It was beautiful.
And all drunk still.
Yeah. It was really, really cool. And then we walked over across the street to the high school.
Like Maryland tailgates are dirty.
No,
They are. Trust me, I see it every week.
There's
it's
only
the thing,
90 people there. We still look like we packed the place.
We're East Coast living. We are a different breed. Like, just in general, this whole corridor in the East
I just
Seaboard,
figured
we're a
that
whole different
Michigan,
breed.
again, when I think of Michigan, I think of Detroit, and I
flew
think
into
of it
Detroit.
similar
Yeah.
to
You think of 8
Baltimore.
Mile. That's what you're thinking of.
I think of it as poverty, and I think of it as close to what Baltimore is. But anyway, so beyond that, we leave the golf course and walk across the street to the high school, and that's where they had the big
Sounds
Big noon
so wrong.
kickoff.
the big noon kickoff for college,
Yeah.
basically college game day type thing. So we got to experience that and sit in the background. You'll see us in the background there.
Yeah.
I'm waving a flag. He's got his
Got the
hat
hat
off,
off.
taking his hat. So you see us in the background of the TV behind Reggie Bush and Urban Meyer and all those guys.
Some guy comes over, taps on the shoulder, goes, "You guys are both Maryland fans?" I guess he thought we were like cast members, just like stuck there.
Right.
And we're like, "Yeah." He's like, "Will you play beer pong with us?" And we're like, "Yeah, okay, whatever."
So we went over and played
He
beer pong.
Gives us beer and whatever. And it's playing a little tailgate, so it worked out pretty cool.
Nice.
Went into the stadium's 110,000 people,
Yeah.
which is just insane.
It's and it's all one level. It's not stacked like an
So you
upper
can
deck.
see all
It's a
110 at
bowl.
the same time.
Everybody, yeah, exactly. The dispersion
Continuous.
actually plays with the sound, though. As much as you would think, like, you've all been to Raven Stadium. You've all heard 70,000 fans screaming and how loud that is. You've heard Oriole Park with 40, 50,000 fans
But you don't
screaming.
have those gaps
Right,
there.
and it's
And it's
not
not
over
stacked
top
on
of
top.
you. It's not over top of you. This is
So it
dispersed out, right? So the sound, there were times like third and fourth down important plays where it got pretty loud, but not as loud as you would think
it
at 110,000 stadium would be.
But it's
And
just
we're literally
that expansive.
we're literally 6 rows off the field. So we've
We're
got
hearing what they're hearing.
108,000 people behind us. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
so we would have gotten the entire impact of
Yeah.
it. But again, we were sitting right
Not a
next
very intimidating crowd either, again, because
No.
they're all just so nice.
Yeah.
They spend most of their time like doing little hand dances and like singing 90s karaoke and like
that was on the broadcast. They were
not
coming
doing
from a
very
commercial, and they're like-
intimidating things towards your players
All right.
that are literally on top of you because there's no sidelines.
So
between
overall,
the field and the
sounds
ball.
like a pretty good experience for you
Oh,
guys
it's a
when
great
you're
trip.
up there.
The bar is set very high between Minnesota and Michigan.
All right, so we'll see where you guys wind up next. But obviously, the sad part of the trip is that the Terps do fall short in this game as they lose 34-27. You were giving props to Ryan on this.
What was your? I know you had the Ravens. I mean, the Ravens. The Terps scoring like 28. It was something.
I
it
can't
was a
remember. It was
close.
close, though.
It was like a 10-point loss. I think you would pick something like that, where everyone else in the room, like me and James, kept looking at each other, like laughing,
That was
like
gonna
here
get
he
dirty
is,
quick.
Fanboy.
fanboy, and Fred's trying to bring it up. Like, well, wait a second.
And we only lost because the first 8 seconds.
This is true.
for real.
So overall, look at the offense. Leah, 20 for 30, 207 yards, had a touchdown, 2 interceptions. A little
Yeah, not
rough.
great.
They
Yeah, I
were a
mean,
little
Not
rough.
Heisman.
One of those very debatable whether it was an interception or
both
not,
of
but
them.
both of
Yeah.
them were poor decisions,
poor decisions is what I was going for. Yeah,
especially at that time.
the second one was real. Sorry, the second one
Yeah,
was
you're
real
fine.
bad because he went to, and I'm whoever he threw it to, he went deep.
Copeland.
But he threw it into like double, triple coverage, and he had a tight end coming over the like about 12 yards. Would have been a first down. It's like, just take what they're giving you.
Yeah.
Don't force it. They're like, take what they give you, and it's just like, nope, let's try to force it and be the hero.
The
and
other
it just didn't
interception,
work
we
out.
alluded to it earlier during the Ravens segment, was the other interception. They gave no time on a ball that was not an interception and should have, had it gone to replay, had they replayed it, the NCAA replayed it, everybody would have agreed the ball hit the ground. It's not an interception. It's an incomplete pass.
Right.
Doesn't get overturned. What was the feeling in the stadium? And I know, obviously, it's a Michigan stadium. There sounded like there was an okay Maryland fan base that was
Nope.
there. No?
That's not true.
There may have been 100 to 200 fans, Maryland fans there.
I think that
scattered.
number is high. So there was,
Okay.
there was one group of the player tickets, like the ones that Michigan gives the school, were
Right.
clearly to our upper left of probably 40 people, and that's the ones the school funded. To our right, there was another group of like 15 Maryland fans that were, again, probably family, that had bought lower level tickets to see their kids. And then the rest of the stadium maybe had 20 of us. Like, you could pick out the red shirts,
patches.
Like, 2 people per section, or like one Maryland fan married to a Michigan person. Like, it was sparse.
All
and
right.
like, when we were walking through town, people were like, oh, we're going, oh, there's a Maryland fan, like out loud, audible.
Right.
Oh, there's a Maryland fan. Like, it was the first thing they had seen that day.
Well, I'll tell you, TV, it came across, when Maryland did score, you could hear an audible cheer.
wow.
Yeah, it's probably us.
It was probably us. We were
Now
on
I
top of the
do
sound
think it was
system.
them.
That's just
At
because
this point.
that's just because of the
Yeah.
109,000 other Michigan
Yes.
fans. They were all quiet.
Oh,
while they were
so
like,
quiet.
It was so quiet, and that was one of the things I was like kind of like disappointed with. Is I really wanted to feel, like I said earlier, what that impact would be with 110,000 people
You gotta go there for Ohio
screaming
State,
at you
even
loud.
But what you
Yeah.
did feel was you felt the hope of 110,000 people
Deflate.
disappear.
Oh,
I
wow.
mean, these people were like, how much you going to lose by today? You ready to get drugged? Like all this other, and then Maryland took that lead in the second quarter, and you could hear a pin drop in that stadium. And the people around us start asking us questions like, are they always running no huddle? Is your kicker always this good? Is it sounds like you
So not only nice fans, but fairly educated fans as well, as far as like understanding the game of football.
Yeah, they were
absolutely.
definitely interested. We were rib jabbing them a little bit. They let that Ryland come out of Eastern Michigan to go over to Maryland for us to drop 2 50-yard
All right,
bombs.
So I gotta ask the two of you regarding the offense. The run game really didn't seem like it got off like we've seen it get off in the past few games. Hemby, 16 rushes, and Drew, you kind of pulled this together. 16 rushes for only 48 yards. Really couldn't get going.
really get going.
Littleton did
No
have
touchdown.
the TD, but overall, I don't feel like they were as impactful on the run game in this game.
Yeah, they didn't have a ton of chunk yardage plays out of the run game. I will give Michigan credit. They got some big boys on both sides of the
I was gonna
offensive
say, like,
line and defensive line.
my observation would be like the offensive line as a whole, like, just couldn't hold up too well against Michigan.
Did good in
general.
pass pro.
Yeah, because
the most part.
it just seemed like, even though like when it did break down, like Leah wouldn't get he was kind of like too slow to get out of that pocket, like when it did
so
break down.
One of the things that I had made a comment during the show was that Leah just needs to commit to whatever it is that he's going to
There
do.
you go, yeah.
If he's going to throw the ball, commit to that. And if you take the sack, take the sack. Or if you throw the ball away, you throw the ball away.
It's the same
if you're,
thing.
If you're going to run,
Don't be
run.
scared.
It's the same thing I said about his
commit,
brother
yeah.
at Alabama. He thinks he's more athletic than he is. He thinks that he can keep his eyes downfield, his arm cocked back, and still outrun somebody. You can't.
And that's
You
how
can
I-
tuck and run, or you can throw the ball. Decide. You
Yeah.
have to decide. Unfortunately, I'm seeing right now Leah is in a knee brace practicing, so I think he'll have to decide now. I think he'll know.
Yeah.
Are you
yeah, I was
sure?
going to say, that was my observation. Exactly like you said, Ryan. It was just like,
That's what got Tua hurt at
when
Alabama.
you're playing against Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, like you can't play around. Like, make the decision, know what you're doing now, and don't just sit there and play scared. Like,
So-
it's kind of how I felt.
Flip side of that, right, from a passing perspective, were you guys surprised to see Rakeem and Dante held as much as they were? Like how quiet? Maybe
Well,
there was more
Rakim was
holding
held
going
by,
on.
by a concussion because he didn't get the Tua treatment. He got.
Yeah.
They said you have a concussion. Go sit down.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still kind of upset with Dante Demas' production so far. Again, 4 weeks into the season, thought he would have more of an impact on the offense, but I don't know. Coming back from a big injury, they've got weapons
sad.
around
Upset's
the field.
might be the wrong-
yeah,
I'm
maybe that's
sad.
the wrong word. Sad that he's not more involved in it. But I think where we saw a little bit of gain in this game was we saw more production out of the tight end group. C.J. Dupree was actually our offensive player of the game in this week because he got his first real offensive production. He got his first touchdown in this game. Corey Dyches had a couple of big catches in the game as well. So it was good to see the tight ends get some action, especially when Rack went down and they were kind of limited on who they had targets out there for.
Yeah, and the run game, I think they just abandoned it. I mean, Antoine Littleton didn't have a single bad run I can remember. They could have put him back in there. I mean, again, like you said, they were a little bigger. So, I mean, well, the only person's going to bounce off their linebacker core is Littleton.
And it was like he would have been the hot hand. And you just completely abandoned
so
the
you
hot hand.
just abandoned that. I think they really could have ran that a lot more. But again, they played well. They hung points. They were the number 4 team in the country and somehow stayed the number 4 team in the country, even though we got no votes.
But the biggest takeaway that I have from this game is what I harped on the most last week, and that was being a disciplined football team. They had 1 penalty. Coming off of a week where they had 15 penalties, they had 1 penalty. It was a false start, and it happened with 2 minutes left in the game. Now, I will say the refs just kept the flags in their pocket in this game. There
On
could have
both
been,
sides.
On both
Yeah,
sides.
both
There
sides.
could have been penalties on either side.
Yep.
But
Demas got
the
mauled.
penalties that
we
they
got away
don't
with 2.
they don't keep in their pockets are the ones that we had the most trouble with. That's false starts and that's personal fouls. And those were 2 things that didn't exist in this game. Locks talked about it in his post-game press conference that he handled his boys, that he punished his boys, quote unquote. I said it earlier. That's kind of what I wanted to see out of Locks. And it was one of the cool things about these tickets that we had was we were actually on the Terps sideline. So we were sitting 6 rows behind the Terps bench, which
At the 50-yard line.
Mind you, they don't have much of a sideline there
At all.
So you're really right on
I
top of
saw
the players
right.
and
in
the
your
coaches.
pictures.
It's amazing the team even fits between the sideline and
Right.
the wall.
All the room was given up to the bleachers.
Right. What was cool about that, though, is we got to see a little bit more one-on-one coaching that Locks was doing with some of his players on the sideline. And to
Both
me,
positively and negatively.
yeah, both. But that's coaching,
Yeah.
and that's what it needs to be, and that's what I want to see out of Locks. So it was good to see that in this game. Again, playing disciplined football, I think, is what kept them in this
What was
game.
one of our biggest celebrations? When Deshaun Jones got his first catch,
And just
stood
went
up,
back to the
walked
huddle.
off the field to the bench.
Yep,
Didn't say anything.
Nothing.
That's it, word.
And in front of like, holy shit, you see that? He just walked off the field. It's amazing.
Somebody was listening to our podcast last week.
Right.
So we'll bring it around to the defense and get your opinions of defense. I know from me being a different outside perspective, for the most part, at least through a better part of 3 quarters, the secondary, and granted, I'm with you. I think we even brought it up last week where, like, in Ryan too, where, like, their quarterback, McCarthy, just doesn't really incite a lot of, like, Heisman-worthy type moments. Like, there was a lot of stuff he was missing early on too, but, like, the secondary held their own for at least 3 quarters. I think the main issue with the defense, from my perspective, was they couldn't stop Corum. It was like they ran the ball enough to tire you out, and then in that 4th quarter, they just handed it off to Corum. To compound, they had, like, he had a long touchdown run at the end of the first half to add, give them the lead, and then that kind of, like, cap her off in the 4th one was a long one too. But, like, it seems like the secondary held their own for as long as they could until they just couldn't any longer.
Yeah, I mean, the secondary gave up a real big play before the end of the half that was obviously a crucial 7 points there because they had some corner out there that hadn't seen play much this year in Whitaker, who gave up the big play down the field, got them in the scoring position. Outside of that, I was pretty pleasantly surprised with the secondary. McCarthy is not a very accurate quarterback, but beyond 20, 25 yards.
Yeah,
down
he
the
was
field.
really especially the first half. It was
Underneath, he's
Good
good.
thing this guy sucks
And
because
he's
it probably
athletic.
be
My man's
That's the
got
thing.
wheels.
He
Yeah,
can
he does.
extend plays, but as far as Corum goes, yeah, Corum single-handedly beat us this game. We talked about like how the Dotsons of the worlds and the Rices of the worlds on the wide receiver side. This was the running back, and part of that came from Ruben Hippolyte wasn't there and didn't suit up, so you didn't have one of your best linebackers out there. You had Caleb Wheatland go down early with some injury issues. He did come back, but went down. Barham was shaken up at 1.2 with a stinger. So there were like multiple reasons, and not to discredit Corum. He's a damn good running back as well, right?
Yeah.
He would bounce it outside, get around the edge, and
But that's the
it's
thing
hard
with
to catch
Ruben.
him.
So, like, yes, we had good running backs or linebackers out there. I think Wheatland's good. He was one with the stinger, and Barham was the arm.
Oh, sorry.
But the speed of Ruben, I think, could have really helped because that off-the-edge stuff is where he's most useful.
Yeah, I agree,
Ruben is hands down of our starters, the fastest linebacker we have. So it would have been really good to have him out there. Unfortunately, it's a high ankle sprain. He's still going to be questionable this week. I'm hopeful. If not, he should be back the next game.
All right, so I got one final question before we move on to talking about a quick overview of the game against Michigan State at home here this weekend. And I'm going to put the camera on you as I ask it because I want to get your facial reactions.
Man, I don't even know where this is going.
I don't either.
Hold me.
I don't know if I can handle it.
How deflated did the two of you get when Ty Felton dropped the kickoff off his face mask?
So I'll take this because
Gotta give my
only I
reaction.
was deflated because I was the only one with hope. This one, my wife just kind of started chuckling, like, of course, like, this is what's going to happen today.
Yeah, I mean, so it's funny you say that because the other part of our seats where we were real close to the tunnel where the players actually come out.
I saw that, yeah.
So I went over there and stood there and took video and took pictures of the guys coming out. And one of the things that I noticed as Ty Felton comes out, he had another level of like
Jacked,
amped up. His head was like twitching and
amped up.
shaking and shit as he's coming out of the tunnel.
He whiffed too many salts.
Something happened.
There were three of them. So it was Ty,
Yeah.
it was C.J. Dupree,
Yep.
and it was Ryland. If you watch the whole video, those people were like,
Extra
like
hype.
C.J. was punching himself in the helmet, and Ty was head bouncing like this, and Ryland just kind of like skipping, like we're like, and this is what happens with people when you're under that added pressure. You either are, if you're great at it.
or don't.
If you're an expert, you perform better. That's why you usually see people in the Super Bowl go nuts. And if you're not an expert, it makes you perform worse. Well, Ty's young. He's getting started in this. He's a hell of a talent, but this is new to him. His energy was from like this new thing. So Ryland,
excitement energy.
Ryland crushed it. 53 and 52-yard field goals. Dupree his best game ever. But Ty was the first one to touch the ball.
Yeah.
So when you stay jacked and the ball's in the air, and now I'm extra jacked because the ball's in the air. Like that got to him.
Like I said at the game, it was a test for this team and how mentally strong are they? Because it's real easy in the first 10 seconds when you give up a touchdown on the road with 110,000, number 4 team in the country,
That place
110,000
did get
fans,
loud after an 8-second
for you to just
touchdown.
completely go to shit and it be a blowout
Yep.
game. They
One player,
marched
one
down
touchdown.
the
They
field.
fought back,
They scored. They got their opening
They
drive.
had a
They actually
lead.
had They got a lead. So kudos to the team for being able to pull it all together, and kudos to Ty because after that one issue, it wasn't an issue. He made sure he was catching with 2 hands, crossing his chest like this. Even
His
when he was
first
walking
carry,
on the field, he was like
stood
this.
up still with 2 arms on the ball and had 12 steps to the bench before he took his second arm off.
They probably told him, make sure you put your arms around that ball. Yeah, no, that was my first initial reaction. Was like, holy shit, Drew, what did you were watching?
I
What were you
think
thinking?
even my words were in the group chat. We're like, God damn it, ... Like, because like it did, like it is like we joke. They're the closest team. It's the Terps team. Like I was so jacked going into the Iowa game last year. Like I still favor the Terps. I still want to see them do good. And it was like, okay, they've been doing good. All right, here you go. Like, all right, it's Michigan.
This is the test.
This is the test. Like even like the way the score ended. Like all right, you can swallow that, and then that just like fucking bounces on the very first football play of the game. Like it just bounces. I'm like, this is gonna be 50-0. Like I just automatically like, well, I'm gonna get a lot of cleaning done in this house today. Then I guess because I won't be sitting here watching the Terps game.
Honestly,
it was like you said though. It was good to see them bounce back, have a lead at one point.
That's kind of where I was at, though,
Yeah.
too, because, and that's why I asked you guys how it was in the stadium, because for me, I'm sitting there watching going, this is really deflated. This is a nationally televised game. This wasn't just on Big Ten Network. This was a Fox game, right?
Exactly.
This was a big-time game. Yes, it wasn't in prime time, but this was a a prime nationally televised game. It was one of their games at that time slot for the week. So for that to be everybody's first look at this Maryland team that it started off so well, I kind of went, fuck,
That's a
it's
horrible
special
first
teams from last year. What the hell?
But you know what?
Defense was better.
We put on a show, and we put on a show in front of a lot of people. It was the third most watched college football game of the week at 4.4 million viewers. And Nicholas Harbor, like you said, was across the field visiting Michigan.
Five-star.
Michigan, the 5-star wide receiver DN, depending on where he wants to play. I hope we put some doubt in his head because we didn't make his top 5. All right? That don't mean Locks is out of it. Locks not giving up on this kid. We're going to try it. I hope we pull a miracle out of the hat, but we'll see. Either way, we're going to be okay, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at it, we bring up the Ty Felton thing because this game. That's the difference in the game for all intents and purposes, right? You give them that field position and put them in the position to score. They do. If you don't do that, who knows what comes out of this? But I don't know that the score is the same, right? So for me, I look at this and say, all right, now it's time to move on. We lost it. It was a close game against a Big Ten team. We weren't blown out. I like it. So now let's prepare against Michigan State. Give us a quick overview. Now, before we do, Ryan McFadden on Twitter did chime in and say, Mike Loxley said Leah with the rib in the knee and Raheem Jarrett will be game time decisions this week, and that he wants to see how they progress throughout the week. He said so far they are progressing well, but it still is going to be a game time decision for both of them. I think there's a little bit of mind game going into that of who do you prepare for. But
they knew Ruben wasn't playing way before they put a game time decision down.
So for you guys, when you take a look at this game, you're our two Maryland experts here. When you look at this game, what are you looking at, and ultimately, what's your prediction? A quick prediction for the game, because I know that you guys probably have a Show and Tell segment or Show and
This
Tell
is
episode.
going so well, maybe not. We'll see.
Oh, okay. All right. Go ahead.
You know,
You're welcome.
here's the thing: it's an absolute fucking must-win. Like we talked about. With the moral victory of being close with a number 4, that moral victory only matters if you back it up this week with a win. If you lose this week, it meant jack shit and nothing. So you need to win this game and mark that officially you were that close. Solidify that you were that close because close don't matter if you don't back it up. So I think we will win it. They haven't beat anybody, but Minnesota's a damn good team. They just lost to. No bones about it. They might be the only good team in the Big Ten West, but they're a good team. So I'm not going to mark off Michigan State. This is not a walkover opponent, but it is a must-win for this team. They got Paul Thorne threw for 900 yards, 7 TDs, 6 interceptions. Again, they've played 2 nobodies, so hopefully we can get a couple picks off him. I don't know. I just think we need it. We proved every game this year to fix the problems that we had. Right. So everything's been different. We haven't had a single game that is the same problem as the week before, and that's a sign of a good team that's growing.
It's a building team.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Michigan State doesn't scare me, but it's an absolute must-win game, right? And Talia's health plays a lot in that. We did get to see Billy Edwards a little bit in this game, and honestly, I left pretty impressed with Billy Edwards in a little bit that we saw. So that gives me a little bit more confidence in the backup quarterback situation. But Michigan State, they lost their bell cow last year in their running back. I can't think of his name. Right? Kenneth Walker, right? So the running game hasn't been as good. Their passing game is probably a little bit better than what we just saw at Michigan. So if you don't have that key guy like the Blake Corum in their running game, I think this is a good matchup for Maryland. Secondary on Michigan doesn't look very good either, so there should be plenty of opportunity for the Maryland Terps to put points on the board. I think this is a must-win, and it will be a win for the Terps.
Yeah, their running back Berger's got 50 carries, 267 yards with 4 touchdowns. Not bad, but it's not Roman Hemby at 48 for 342 and 3.
Right.
So it's not. They do have Coleman with 19 receptions, 261 yards, and 3 touchdowns will be their receiving leader. So he's right there, par with Rack in that world.
All right, I think you guys are right. I think this is a proving type game for them. They've got to show everybody that they truly belong in the top tier of the Big Ten. This is their chance to start kind of showing that and show that they really had the opportunity to win last week. I think we all agree they did. They really did, and it would have been great for you guys to see it. I did tell Ryan when he came to pick up the headset that if they had won, I expected to see the two of you rushing the field at some point.
Definitely not enough of this. I was confirmed once we got there.
Just been Ryan and I.
Yeah.
It would have been us bailing you out of prison, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. I might have been able to like drop the hat and like blend into the team since they were right there. I could just jumped in the middle of them. I don't know.
Oh man! All right, well, we'll see what happens. I really hope they do. I know that you guys, obviously being a home game, if anybody is going to the game out there, make sure you go see Ryan, see Fred. Look out for the shell and tell hat. Oh, you're not going to be there this week.
I got a wedding this weekend, so I won't be there.
Hey, it's also looking a little
Priorities,
rainy, and
Fred.
I haven't gotten all my tickets out. So if you feel like coming and sitting in a rain game next to me, hit me up. I might have some tickets for you.
There you go. Hit up Ryan. We'll see what happens.
That's how friendships are born.
Speaking from experience.
No rules. No boundaries. 2 topics. 30 seconds each. It's time for the 2-minute warning.
All righty, it is time for the 2-minute warning. Fred is going to read us our questions this week. Got 2 pretty solid questions, I think. So, Fred.
Because you wrote them, right?
Well,
Okay.
Maybe.
Sorry, spoiler alert.
James, be ready to start that timer over there.
Yep.
James got it.
I
He's
got
on.
it. I got it.
He's on. He's not spoiling.
You've been real
yet.
quiet. You all right? You over there?
Yeah, I'm just letting you do your thing right now.
Just making sure. Make sure you're okay.
I'm good.
All right, man. First question. The NFL announced yesterday that the Pro Bowl will now be the Pro Bowl games with a week of football both and non-football competitions capped off by a flag football game. What was your initial reaction to this news?
My initial reaction was, you seriously listened to us when we said it felt like a flag football game, so you made it a flag football game? Like, that was my... But then
They heard those tweets wrong.
Yeah, right. Then I started hearing, okay, it's going to be the whole football, like the skills competition and stuff like that starting to kind of come back, and it's football and non-football, so there's worries about it. And then I heard Peyton Manning and his broadcast crew and his media team are the ones that are handling it.
Oh, okay.
I'll sit back and relax. Go ahead.
I still don't give a shit about the Pro Bowl. I'm glad they pretty much admitted like the way we present this game is kind of a joke. I get like that's cool that they did it, but like the short and sweet of it for me was like it just becomes a point where you go through such this roller coaster of the NFL season. By the time you get to that point after this, I just don't. It doesn't really change my mind on it, like that whole festivity thing.
Okay.
All right, so what record in baseball is more impressive? 62 home runs in a single season or 700 home runs in a 22-year career?
So obviously surrounding Aaron Judge and Albert Pujols. And yes, I did write this, but I really have been torn until just a little bit before the show. And for me, when you look at it, it's the consistency of a career. I don't care how long that career is. If it's 10 years, 22 years, whatever. 700 home runs is fucking impressive. You can do it once, but can you do it consistently? That's the show of an athlete.
Yeah, it's 700 for me. My thoughts on the whole 62 home runs or more, whatever Judge is chasing. He's chasing that because he's a Yankee. It doesn't matter. It was Root's record at 60, then it was Maris' record at 61, and it's the shadow of McGuire, Bonds, and Sosa getting up to 70 and 73. So for me, it's just because he's a Yankee, it matters. So the 700 home runs, that 700 home run club is way bigger than what you did in one season. Because Judge, like I know I'm going to keep running. Judge could turn to jack shit for the rest of his career. But what you said, the longevity of it to get the 700 runs, way bigger, impressive.
Judge is chasing money. He's not chasing merit.
Exactly.
He's chasing money right now.
The key.
And last thing, option C was the better answer. 2,632 games is a more impressive record, of course.
Yes,
Of
I didn't
course.
go there, but
We're gonna do an after
we're
hours?
gonna do shorter after hours.
Nothing
Yeah.
quick, but like at least a quick compound on that
Yeah.
one. what you
Yeah.
brought up.
We'll talk about it afterwards. But as always, we appreciate each of you guys joining us each and every week for the show. Obviously, you can check us out on our website, www.birdlandbs.com. While you're there, you can check out all of our episodes. Check out the Show and Tell podcast. The guys, I think you guys did an episode while you were away in Michigan, right? Or you were going to
We were
record?
going
We
to.
just carried all the recording stuff back and forth.
Yeah. No, we
So
didn't
it's a
do that.
good thing Ryan came tonight so he could bring the headset
They were
back.
too
is what
busy
I'm
enjoying
hearing.
that terrible food, apparently.
Yeah, right.
There was all those
Waiting
long
for it.
waits. We
waiting
ran
for
out.
food.
We should have the recording stuff in our backpack the whole week.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure you guys check out all of our gear as well. You can learn about us, contact us, follow us on all of our social media pages. At BirdlandBS is how you find us on everything. At ScottBLBS, at Drew27N, at James Bond 2032, and on the couch at FredBLBS, at Terps BS Bert. Make sure you follow everybody.
This
Give
is
us
my
a
erotic
like.
T-shirt.
Give us a like, follow, subscribe while you're there. If you listen to the audio version of the show, whether it's Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts or your shows, make sure you give us a review while you're there. Give us that 5-star review so we can be found by all the other fans of the show or other fans of Ravens, Terps, Orioles, whatever it may be. It allows us to expand our Birdland BS Nation. Make sure you also check out bigplay.com and give them a look, as they are one of our affiliates as well. As always, we appreciate you guys tuning in each week. For myself, Drew, James, Fred, and Ryan, we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
See ya.
Last call for alcohol.
Yeah, let's go. I forgot what Fred usually says this morning.
It's time for the after party.
Time for the after party. I don't know.
The party's on the couch
haven't-
tonight.
The drinks
piece
and the
of-
shots have already happened a while ago.
One piece of Terps news I didn't get to. It wasn't football related, so it was whatever. But real bad news out of the women's basketball right now. Their junior forward, Allie Kubik, the lady from Towson,
Yeah.
that was the awesome transfer.
Yeah.
She blew out her ACL in practice, going to miss the whole season. And she was going to be like a priority in the front court this year because they were pretty thin in the front court with all the transfers.
So they lost some of the powerhouses.
Yeah,
they had.
so she was a hell of a three-point shooter and a forward. So that's a big loss for Brenda. So hopefully she'll be able to fill it with something.
If anybody can figure it out, it's Brenda.
Yeah, it's going to be a four-guard lineup is what they figure out it's going to be.
Orioles are losing 13-8. That's an
Yeah.
update.
Yeah.
Things have spiraled.
Weird.
Yes, this is a negative after
Weird.
hours.
I forget.
Yeah.
I forget who
Weird
said
night.
it. Who said it on the chat room? But somebody said when we were talking about Santander, he said 2 home runs the other night, 2 home runs last night, 2 home runs tonight for Santander.
Yeah, 2 tonight, too? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
That's
had
what he's saying. I have to.
He had two. He had 3 2-homer games.
There you
across
go.
6. Yeah.
Thomas Flahart. So I haven't looked that up. 'cause
We did get to play golf out there too, so that was a good.
Yeah.
to keep
How
the
is
streak
Michigan
rolling.
golf?
Actually, not bad.
It was nice. Like I said, the Michigan golf course was really
Beautiful.
nice, but it was super expensive to play. It was like $160 per round, and then we
Without
didn't have
all
any of our
clubs.
clubs. We didn't have any of our equipment, so you're gonna have to buy balls, the whole nine.
Yeah.
We actually ended up
You
getting
didn't
a really
fly Southwest, did you?
We flew Southwest out.
there.
We flew first class home.
Yeah.
Because I was expecting to be a lot richer after a win, but I missed it.
But no, the golf course that we played at was beautiful. The deal that we got on it was really good, and we had a good time. So
All right. Well, good. You wanted to expand on the after hours or on the
yeah,
2-minute
so-
warning segment.
It was saying, I wish I could remember who put out the list, but it was like the list was like the 5 unreachable numbers in in Major League Baseball. So it was obviously DiMaggio, which I think is never going to be touched. with the hitting streak.
Right.
It was the most home runs. It was a couple other ones, but one of the ones was like 325 between pitcher, catcher, battery mates, which with like a Wainwright and Molina did. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. But like no mention of like the streak of like playing.
Right.
Like you said, 2,632 games. Like
nobody's
crazy.
nobody's even come close to 1,000 in a long time. Right. So
I think the closest was somebody had like 1,500 at one point.
But that was years ago. I'm
Right,
saying since then, like nobody's
Whit
even
Merrifield
come close.
had like was the closest, and he was like still like 2,000 and like 400 off.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So like there's
Nobody has a full season.
right. There's no way.
There's too much money involved
Yeah.
too
In
nowadays.
the way
where,
baseball-
like, even the Aaron Judge gets a day off.
So that's exactly what I was gonna say. The way baseball's played right now, players just don't play every single day like they used to. Players don't pitch complete games like they used to. They don't throw 150 pitches in an inning like in a game like they used to.
Yeah. They take off when they're having
Everything
a
is
kid,
micromanaged.
you know?
Right?
All the
Everything
things
is
we didn't do back in the day.
micromanaged.
More money,
So-
less production. So here's, without getting political, it's not just baseball. It's across the board.
Yeah.
More money, less production. I don't care what level of employment you are at.
Not true. Pay me more, government. I'll do more.
About the only thing the government.
The government paying you more, you would do less, wouldn't you?
So that-
Probably.
Speaking of it,
I work less
I don't know how
overtime
you
every year
could
to
do
get a
much
raise.
less.
Speaking of it, today is the anniversary of when Mark McGwire hit his 70th home run today.
It is. I did see something today. I actually snapshotted it because I was thinking back, and it was like, this guy was genius,
Like,
and whoever.
that guy said, "No, fuck
So-
you."
This day in 1998,
Hey, James,
Phil.
switch the camera.
Amateur
staring at
hour.
us the entire time.
I'm too afraid to
Anyway.
hit buttons, so when I'm up here, I ain't touching
I was saying,
shit.
I don't have the other person
So
offset
it's
me
on
over
that
here.
guy.
So on this day in 1998, Phil Orzewski, a fan making $30K a year, catches Mark McGwire's 70th home run. Cardinals asked for the ball in exchange for a signed bat, ball, and jersey. Orzewski asks to also meet McGwire.
He said no.
McGwire says no. Orzewski backs out. 3 months later, sells the ball for $3 million.
Good for him.
Good for him. You want to be
Good
a
for
prick?
him.
All you had to do was
Yeah.
meet the guy
Right.
for about fucking 10 minutes.
Piece of shit.
Yeah.
If that. All you had to do was say hello. It
He
wouldn't
wasn't
even
going
have
out to
been
dinner with you.
2 minutes. The guy didn't say, "Hey, can I take a vacation to Jamaica with you?" Like,
Yes.
he just said,
Can
"Hey,
I meet you?"
I want to hand you the ball myself and shake your hand and say congratulations." That's all it took.
So after the whole
Roid
piece
rage.
of, I haven't gotten confirmation if Zach Hampel,
Caught
ball
700.
hawk, he didn't catch 700. We saw the guy that caught 700. I haven't got confirmation if he was there or not.
I still don't know who the fuck is
But now Yankees fans and fans all across baseball are calling. If you see Zach Hampel at a Yankees game where Judge is playing, start fighting him. Because then you both get kicked out and he can't have any chance of catching number 61 or 62 or whatever it may be.
It's a little aggressive of an approach, but
still
Well,
don't
that's
know
that
who
New
the
York
guy is.
thing. He could go to Ann Arbor and know that he would do anything
No,
to him.
Ann Arbor.
He ain't catching that ball in New York.
right this way, sir.
I hope.
Yeah.
Who
New York
are they?
fans, he ain't catching that ball.
Whoever the hell they're playing, I just hope before Friday, like this motherfucker gets the 62.
Yeah.
I really don't want it to happen to the Orioles.
No, I don't want it to happen to the Orioles either. It can happen before, it can happen after. It got to happen on Monday for all I give a shit. But don't let it happen. So
Well, as history shows, it probably will be. against
And
the
then
Orioles.
every home run after that's history as well, right? I mean,
Well,
it can't have that four, really.
History in the American
70.
League. Yeah, I mean, the record is 71, 73?
73.
It's 73 for Bonds, the
Right.
cloud of steroids being a National
Right,
League.
yeah.
I get it, but it's like I said,
It's
to
impressive.
me, if he was a Guardian, I don't think it would be made that out to be that big of a deal.
No, for sure. I get you. Any after hours thoughts anybody wants to add before we get out of here?
I think I'm good.
All right. We appreciate you guys tuning in.